All right, Mike, today is Tuesday. It is January 7th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Snake Draft Tuesday, second snake draft of the year. We ran one last Thursday. If you didn't listen, tune into that one. It was the GOAT draft. And today we're joined by Big Ev and Rico. Boys, how we doing over there?
Good. Snake drafts officially moved to Tuesdays?
Moved to Tuesdays, yes, because the stretch comes out on Mondays, usually where we blow off our Bears theme. So we pushed it to a more positive day.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly. And today, speaking of positivity, today is not a positive draft. We are drafting.
We did the GOAT, now this is the WOAT draft.
The worst franchises in sports.
Yep. We're racing to the bottom today.
Yes, I'm going to tip my hand. I just have the four major sports. I don't know if
I figured that's what we were doing.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any outside the box type things here.
Yeah, but I don't know if Chiefs going to take like Derby County or some shit.
Well, they absolutely fucking suck. But the only one for soccer I was thinking of, which you guys wouldn't relate to, and probably no one would be Tottenham, where they have all the money and they never win anything.
Nope.
So honorable mention, Tottenham.
So cross the Fort Wayne Mad Ants off my
yeah.
Who are they? That's a sweet name, actually. That's not
G League.
Okay.
Kind of interested to see where this draft goes to. I know I say that a lot, but this is like, how much are we judging on recent success versus the whole kid and caboodle?
I'm going kid and caboodle, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think I think it has to be kind of a combo though, because like the financials of it have changed so much that I think that impacts.
Sure.
Yeah, like what are we honing in on most? Is it winning? Is it just ownership? Is it stadium? Like,
you have to make your arguments.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you can have it on both ends too, where there's some franchises that are doing well, like right this second, but have been really bad.
Historically,
and then vice versa,
right.
Where some that have like been really good, and now right now they're not great, but they've been good.
There's also some that had.
There's a little bit of both of that in all different.
Yeah,
sports.
there's also some that had an overall run. When you look at their overall run, they're a laughing stock, but they snuck in some championships as well.
I think
I
think the one that I don't think anybody would draft it because they had a lot of success 10 years ago was the Blackhawks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're absolutely.
Yeah, they are arguably they're terrible. But they won so much recently that I feel like you can't pick.
Well, them, I don't know if we definitely remember in this room, but ESPN, the magazine, when that was still around, they did like they ranked every franchise, and the Blackhawks were dead last.
Dead last for like multiple years in a row.
And that was like in 2005, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then obviously they drafted
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, the games
Why is that? Their ownership is so bad?
They weren't on TV.
So they had this guy, Bill Wirtz, who is a second-generation owner, the absolute woat, wouldn't show home games on TV because he thought that it negatively it wasn't fair to the people who paid season tickets.
Yeah.
So but he called them like.
So not a carrier dispute, guys. Like that's pretty common nowadays.
Oh, yeah, This
wasn't
back
a carrier.
in the day. If games, they have a little. I mean, we're getting inside baseball here, but if games weren't sold out in the NFL, you didn't get to see it live. There was some kind of TV deal.
Right, I remember
well.
that. Yeah.
This was not that. This was him being like, no, it's not fair to the season ticket holders.
He called it season reservations.
Yeah.
There's reservation holders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so basically like a whole generation, like me, like
Yeah.
we grew up.
Yeah.
We grew up like not being able to watch the Hawks.
They were such a nothing organization that I could watch. I went to school in Chicagoland, college in the Chicagoland area, so we would go down to Blackhawks games. You could show your college ID and get in and sit on the ice for like $8.
You would get
you'd move down.
It was $4, and then you could move down.
Yeah.
So you get in for the top 300 level for $4, and then after the first period, you just sit wherever you want.
Sit wherever you want in the stadium. There'd be a couple thousand people there, maybe.
Got rid of Roenick, Chelios, Hasek, Ed Belfour, you name it. Like so many legends I just dumped.
Because they were great in the early 90s. They went to the finals once, and then they're just like, you know what? Fuck it. All those guys you love, we're getting rid of them because we don't want to pay them an extra $500,000.
Yeah. But anyways,
enough
about the brutal history of the 90s, 2000s Blackhawks.
Yeah.
We get into this draft. Before we do, though, I do want to talk about our friends at Game Time. Speaking of the Blackhawks, I'm seeing you can get tickets against the Avalanche on Wednesday as low as $26.
Wait for him to come down. Wait for him for game day. The Avalanche, this is the old thing with the Blackhawks, what I used to do. When there was somebody I wanted to see, that's when I would go. Yeah. I want to see Peter Forsberg. I want to see Mario Lemieux. You go to those games to watch like the stars around the league, not the Blackhawks.
Yeah, so it's football season, obviously, so there's
playoffs if you're lucky enough to be in one of those markets.
Yeah, exactly. I just looked up the Philly Green Bay. You could get them as like low as $200, which is awesome to get into the stadium. So They are the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. You know how much we love Game Time. Now with their new Game Time Picks feature, they're making it easier than ever to get to a game. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Like I said, I was looking for those, so I'm going to go buy those. So all you have to do is pull up your chosen event, turn on the GT Picks setting at the top of the screen, or browse the best local Game Time Picks deals near you on your Game Time app homepage. I don't know what you're waiting for. I'm going to go buy those Blackhawks tickets right now with Game Time Picks. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DOGWALK for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DOGWALK for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. All right, let's do the order here. Ev, Lance has the number 1 through 5 behind his back. What number is it?
4.
No.
Rico.
3.
Correct.
I'll take 1-1.
All right. Chief, 1 through 4.
1.
1.
What'd you take, Rico? I'm sorry.
1-1.
I'll go 2.
Dave.
2. No.
1.
I went 1 again. Yep.
I'll stay middle pack. Ev, 1 or 2.
2.
2.
I'll go 4.
All right, right down the line. So the order is Rico, Chief, Eddie, Ev, White Sox, Dave. Without further ado, the worst franchise in the sports draft. Rico, lead us off.
I think it might be a little bit more recency bias because I think in this same sport, you might get one a little bit better. You might actually get 2 better. But just for the recency bias, and especially that I wrote the blog this morning, I'm taking the New York Jets. I don't know if you guys know this, in 1979, they ran a halftime show that was a flying lawnmower and killed a fan. It's a true story.
I'm sorry.
What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry I laughed at that.
What's
It's a
funny
true-
about death?
I laughed my ass off.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. The backwards,
insane.
right? The backwards banner, the butt fumble, Woody Johnson's ownership, letting me go from the ticket sales position. Everything that they've done has been a fucking disaster.
Wait, hold on. What happened with the
I don't know
sales
that
position?
story.
I worked in game ops first, and then I got the position full time, but on a temporary status. For the season, I killed it, and they kept a girl who was great and one kid who was a fucking idiot ahead of me. So they've been cursed. You know, they were cursed before, they're cursed since. So it's just the Jets are a laughable. The draft blunders video that's linked in my blog is all time too. You know what I mean? Like, and the dumb fans being like, well, ownership must know something that we don't. It's like, no, the guy stinks. They also said Vernon Golston, it sucks because it's the Ohio State guy. They said when he takes his shirt off, he's a top 10 pick. To which my father said, why don't we just let teenage girls make the fucking draft picks then? Like, the guy has, he can't tackle. Just a fucking disaster from start to finish.
There's that other great one where there's a compilation where they draft like Kyle Brady, like 10th overall, the tight end from Penn State. And it felt like no matter who they drafted, because it was always in New York back then, it was a rain of boos.
Yeah, it was just brutal.
Instantly on draft day. It was great.
Did they have a lot of love for Mark Sanchez there?
I don't think they do, but I would respect him more. Like, my dad likes him. The quarterbacks that have come through have not been great. Like, you got to respect Sanchez. I also think he got a raw deal when they brought Tebow in behind him and dangled that little piece.
I think now the Jets fans appreciate Mark Sanchez. I don't think in the moment they were obsessed with him. I think now they realize like he's the best we have.
He also did nothing wrong. He's a good guy too.
Yeah, I mean he's good on the call. And I think
Dad's a fireman.
I mean, you think someone my age, like who's 30 years old, your best Jets years of your life, Mark Sanchez will be your quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have usually fond memories.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing that's painful with the Jets. Like the one thing my dad did was not pass it off to us growing up. But the Jets have been close a bunch of times, and they do stupid. He talks about Klecko having like a sack, and then they got a roughing the passer penalty in a game that was like locked up. Crazy things too. Shula doesn't cover the field in 82. They make the AFC Championship game, miss kicks, this, that. Like the Jets have been on the cusp. 99 against the Broncos. They've been on the cusp a bunch of times, and they just have these awful losses as well.
They also are, I feel like they're just one of the all-time like meme teams.
Yes.
Oh, and not even and I think it goes deeper than even the games, like the butt fumble, obviously. But even just like in Big Daddy, like the goddamn Jets. There's this video, I don't know if you guys, there's like one of my all-time favorite gambling reaction videos of like losing a bet. And there's this kid who he's literally just looking at his phone, just looking at the bet slip, crying, and he's like, you can tell he's a Jets fan. He's like, why would I bet the fucking Jets? Like, and just like all just stuff like that, like literally in tears, like just listen.
Yeah, pop culture. Pete Davidson had to think he's like, oh, you're a smart guy. You bet the Jets. Who the fuck bet?
Yeah, he's like, why the fuck? Oh, yeah, Bill Burr. He's like, why would you bet the Jets? He's got like stuff like that. Like, you just say stuff like that, and you even can be a very loose sports fan, and just like it just hits. You just see Jets like misery, Jets loser. They just go hand in hand perfectly.
Quickly on Sanchez, didn't he get busted for dating a 17-year-old when he was quarterback in the Jets?
I don't remember that.
I feel like that would be a bigger deal. I don't think he did.
I just Googled it, and it was true.
Did he know?
I briefly remember it being like a story. I don't remember how deep it got into it in terms of like the
article
if it was
I
real
saw,
or not. If it was,
this is like how things have changed. The article I just pulled up was from 2011, and it said Mark Sanchez dating a 17-year-old shows bad judgment.
it's bad judgment.
I have no idea.
I think Chad Pennington was probably better than Sanchez, though.
No, but
No
here's
better
the thing.
player, but I think that those 2 years, that was, if you're someone my age, those are the two best Jets teams you've seen.
Yeah.
Pennington better player, but when Sanchez was the quarterback, those were the best teams.
Yes.
Well,
and
that's
then
the
you
thing.
go all the way back to Testaverde. Like, that's such a gap. Yeah, I mean, it's...
Well, Sanchez is what Rex Grossman is to us as Bears fans. You know, like Cutler is probably better than
Yeah.
Grossman, but Rex Grossman, like you have
Yep,
higher.
there you go.
Yeah, you have higher. He's our Mark Sanchez. Then
I'll give one final nugget on the Jets. We were in a sales meeting, and in April, they did a thing where in the 300s, which is non-PSLs. That's the other thing, too. They're one of the first teams to do PSLs, which is just a joke. And they also said they would never sell single-game tickets. Now, of course, they do. Like, the PSLs are a fallacy.
Gross.
So they move people down and over for better sight lines and better rows. That puts them into a higher price point for those rows. What they then did in June was knock down those tickets that everyone moved out of to $50 and $75 for just for season tickets. When in the meeting, a girl raised her hand and was like, what do I tell Big Ev when he calls in and I moved him 2 months ago from a seat that's now discounted? They said, deal with the shit, but make it a free-for-all and let's just make money. That was Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson said that. So I was like, all right, this organization is bad. Like, this shit is bad.
what else is there about Woody? Is there any more stories about Woody?
I think he's overseas for a little bit. Clemmer knows more.
He was like
'cause
the
he's a Jets fan.
ambassador.
It was
to
the
Ireland.
Irish ambassador.
Yeah. It's
Also, I mean, this year there was talk about Joe Douglas. It sounded like he probably leaked something about like his
Kids playing
grandkids Madden ratings with Jerry Jeudy, and there was something real to that. I mean, he's just a clown. Woody Johnson's a total clown.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Chief.
I'm taking the Browns. So
Yeah.
to me, the Browns are the epitome of they've never even been to a Super Bowl. The Jets, while it was a million years ago with Namath, they did win a Super Bowl and are arguably responsible for the merger because that was like the last straw that made the leagues merge. So the Jets, they should get a little bit of credit for that. The Browns have literally nothing. They had like a few good teams of heartache in the 80s, and then that's it. They lost their franchise, and then that team immediately went on to win the Super Bowl as the Ravens, and then they bring them back, and they've had no success whatsoever. They're another meme team. The Bears have kind of joined this, and we've made the T-shirt of all the quarterbacks that they've had. But the Browns, like the classic, the jersey with
down to the floor.
yeah, exactly. And then even now, where they're like, we got to get rid of Baker to bring in Deshaun Watson. And like Baker's like good, and Deshaun like that's the worst trade of all time.
That's where I feel,
First round, 4?
that's where I feel bad because it's like even when you do the right thing, they did the right thing. They gave up the capital. They got a great quarterback, and it just is the worst deal of all time. Like
Yeah.
there's got to be a higher power against the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, they're a
I mean,
I
they
think
just-
you could make the same argument for the Jets. But yes, you're right. The Browns have one of those they'll never win. Some of these teams just have a black cloud.
Yeah, like
Well,
I
with
genuinely feel
the-
bad.
And like there's only a handful of teams that have never even been to a Super Bowl, and the Browns are one of them, and they've been there the entire time because there's been like expansion teams. I still in my brain there are still expansion teams who haven't made it. The Browns are like one of the original franchises, and I think how long did they go without a team? Like 2 years. I think they came back in like '99 or something like that.
for sure.
Tim Couch, but they've never sniffed a Super Bowl in my lifetime.
They also, I'll say this as a guy who lived in Columbus for 3 years, unbelievable fans.
Yeah,
Like great fans. But I do give them shit because they, with the Baker stuff, people forget now, like obviously we've seen how it's played out. but they got good for a few years, and I had never seen a fan base so fast get complacent, not the right word, get like too big for their britches in the sense of like they get Baker, they have some good years to make the playoffs. They almost like beat the Chiefs in that playoff game. And then it was like he has the year where he plays with the torn labrum, and everybody was so out on him. Like they couldn't wait to get rid of Baker. Couldn't wait to get rid of him. Was the best thing they ever had.
Yeah,
but
it was.
But that, like you said, like even when they make the right decision, they lose. Like they have the number 1 pick. They draft the right quarterback, and they win with him, and then they still fuck it up. Yeah. They still fuck it up and give the worst contract in the history of sports, a contract so bad that other owners are standing like Jim Irsay basically saying, we can't make this a precedent. And that was before Deshaun Watson even played horribly. Yeah. Like giving unprecedented bad contracts where they're literally in a spot now where they have no way out. They literally they hamstring themselves for 5 years, 5 seasons with this guy.
Zero.
You know, it was dud after year 1.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Horrible. They to me are the gold standard of being shit.
It's got to be even worse too that the Ravens are in that division, and that was where they moved. You know what I mean?
They're the poster child of a great franchise.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're literally always good.
Yeah, the Steelers
always
like
good.
it's crazy.
Steelers too. Steelers.
And another where we're like they do the thing. You're like they draft Lamar with that last pick where there was Baker, there was Josh Allen, all these guys available. They creep up the last pick of the first round. They steal Lamar Jackson, and here they are, 25 years old, 2 Super Bowls, going to come in second or third for this one.
You could say the same thing about Flacco. Where Flacco, you know, like I feel like there's probably a lot of teams in this league, probably Chicago included, who would have given up on Flacco. I mean, you know, and then he goes on and wins the Super Bowl for him.
Okay, yeah, Browns. Man. I mean, good one too right now. I'm up. I gotta say this. I have a strong feeling it's gonna get vetoed, which is fine. So, but I mean, they got to be mentioned, the Arizona Coyotes.
Oh, I'm not vetoing.
No, why would you veto that?
No, you can take that.
That is, I thought I'd be able to get that in the second round. That's the worst of all time because they were bad when they were the Winnipeg Jets, and then they moved to Arizona. They never, I think they made the conference finals once. They beat the year they actually beat the Blackhawks, and I think that was 2011. And they're so bad. They went bankrupt. The league was managing them for a long time. And then they have this other owner who like defaulted on the lease of the stadium. So they have to play in the college rink at Arizona State. And then they eventually moved to Utah. And it's not like this year 1, but they're not good this year. So they were horrible in Winnipeg for the most part. Absolutely abysmal laughingstock. Hurt. Like it got to the point where the other owners we're like, enough of this. Get them out of there.
Yeah.
So Gary Bettman tried to save them forever. That is a home run pick.
Okay, yeah. I think
they could have gone
it would have been my next pick probably.
They could have gone 1-1.
I think they're a definite first round.
I mean,
they are a joke.
I this is such a meathead non-hockey fan take, but like hockey in the desert doesn't work. There's no fucking hockey fans there. There's no hockey culture there.
It could work.
It could work, absolutely.
It's working in Vegas, dude.
No, for sure. Yeah. But like that they went to the Stanley Cup Finals the first year. If
they have a real owner.
If they were like the Arizona Coyotes, do you think that they would be received like they are in Vegas? You do?
I feel bad for like the hockey fans like the real hockey fans in Arizona because they had a couple of years like the 2011 they went to the conference finals, and then in the 90s they had a couple of years where they made the playoffs and I don't think they won a round, but that. They had Roenick, they had Keith Tkachuk. Like they would do the whiteouts, which they stole from Winnipeg, but they were the first team to like do the whiteouts. That building was rocking, and if they had any sort of success, and they were always rumored to be moving. So it's like, am I gonna like emotionally invest in this team that's had 7 different owners in 12 years, and they're like, oh, they're going to this place, they're going to Quebec, they're going, So I do think if they had a modicum of success. It could have worked in Arizona.
Yeah. They played a 5,000 seat arena.
And Eddie and I went.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
It's not even
It was great for a hockey fan. Like, it was great for...
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
I mean, to see Kel McCarr that close was really cool, I thought. But
it's like, it's not. Like, it like the Jumbotron...
If you don't have stake in the game, like, if you don't have, like, a...
No, I know, but like, even, like, it reminded me of the Fox Valley Ice Arena where I played, and they had, like, a junior A team playing there. Like it was.
I went to $5 open skates at that.
Yeah, I would have
ice
been embarrassed if I was a Coyotes fan, but
I think even as a hockey fan, it was not
really
good. Yeah,
Yeah, I think the shticks work in college. Like Gonzaga's place holds not a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like you go to the Maui, and that's in a high school gym. Like more so college football, you have those are big stadiums, but or the MAC, like nobody's there. Like the little shtick things work in college. When you go to a pro, you're supposed to be like, this is a pro arena. Like,
yeah.
No, this can't be a shit. That's the other part, too. Sorry to boost the Jets pick. MetLife is a fucking disaster, too, by the way.
Is it?
The stadium. Oh, disaster. It looks like an air conditioner. People hate it. Fucking disaster.
How's the easy in and out there?
Horrible.
One of the worst leaving there is I went to it was the
we
Giants
went to the Giants game. They had to get out of the car and figure it out.
I don't know if I'll ever go back. I will go back, but I'm saying it is brutal.
It's that bad.
Yeah. It's horrible to get out of there. Like we had to stream that night. I had to stream the Yankees that night. We went to like a 1:00 game, Giants Ravens. Actually crazy. They won the game. And so it was one of those like a tight game. They had a 10-point comeback fourth quarter. So everyone stays 80,000+ in there. There's NJ Transit, which the line is literally it's ridiculous. We get in Rico's car. And we didn't move for 40 minutes in the lot. Oh. So I remember me and Marty get up. We walk. There's a mall there, like called the American Dream, a huge mall. We had to walk all the way to the mall, through the mall, get an Uber from there. It's a nightmare. Absolutely, leaving that stadium's a nightmare. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah,
I think it'd be easy because there's just nothing but fields around it. But
nah, it fucks it up.
Yeah, it's off the highway. I mean, it's not a neighborhood.
Yeah, so
that's a good pick, Eddie, in the weeds, though. Phoenix.
Yeah.
I
really, because no one else is a hockey person, that was going to be my second round.
Yeah,
I thought
they transcend being a hockey thing.
Yeah, franchise. No, definitely, could have gone one more.
Yeah, they're fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Ev.
All right, I'm going with, no one's went baseball yet. I'm going with the Oakland A's. I mean, just just an absolute travesty. I mean, they've been bad for a long time. They've randomly had good. Their ownership is so bad where they obviously have Moneyball. They've had some good baseball people in there to make good decisions considering the lack of budget they've had. But I mean, they have no money. The ownership has just ran that place in the ground. I mean, they're about to move. I mean, this year you see there's rats in the fucking stadium. They can they can't give tickets away there. I mean, obviously Dave's the baseball guy, so I'll let him take the fly after me. But I mean, it is such a disaster, such a nightmare. You want to talk about just ineptitude of ownership? They are they should be the face of it. They are exactly. I've never, some of those home games, I've never seen anything like that. There's no one in the stadium. The team has zero talent. They just gave their biggest contract ever in baseball $60 million. That's insane. Insane.
Which was a weird contract to give considering the state of the team right now. It just didn't make sense. But Eddie and I went boots on the ground in August, was it? It was towards the end of the year. And
chasing the streak or something, right?
Yeah, the White Sox were playing and they were at 21 in a row. I think they tied the record that game or whatever. But it is as decrepit. That stadium was as decrepit as way more decrepit than I could imagine. It had its own charm to it, but I felt so bad for those fans because they're true awesome fans. And they got the raw and the stick, and it's 100% because of ownership from the sounds of it. But on the flip side, to play devil's advocate, they have a really good history. Really good history.
9 World Series.
Even a somewhat good recent history. Obviously, they've been trash the last 2 years, but I mean, for the large part of the last 20 years, they're typically competing in the AL West. They've
had good
stuff.
baseball people in there.
Oh yeah.
They've obviously Moneyball and all that. They've had they've drafted decently well, but to even it's I almost think it's a testament to how bad they are when they've had good people in there and they still can't do anything with it.
So for the next few years, they're going to be playing at their Sacramento stadium, their AAA farm team's stadium, and I guess so the lighting there is not suitable for major league standards. So they play a lot of day games, but apparently where Sacramento is located, it's in Death Valley or whatever. So it's 1,000 degrees for all these home games. So this owner's forcing these major league professional athletes to play in 100-degree heat in Sacramento, California the next 3 years. It's going to be miserable for them. And John Fisher is evil.
It is kind of crazy, Ev, you're bringing up the Moneyball era, that team couldn't get over the hump. With the pitching, Miguel Tejada, Giambi, Johnny Damon.
Yeah.
They had so many awesome, Eric Chavez. They had awesome players in the early 2000s.
For a long, not even just early 2000s.
But that was their peak.
Sure.
Yeah, when they,
they
Hudson, Zito, Mulder,
Yeah.
like they, and then who was the closer? Christensen,
They had was it Billy Koch for a
Billy
minute?
Koch for a minute too.
Yeah, they've had their scouting and their baseball people have always been. I'm for my life, actually prior to my life, because they won the 3 World Series in the
70s, and they won it
70s.
in '89 with the
No, that was a blue.
They won in 89.
It was 89.
Yeah.
with the Bash brothers, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right. It was 89.
yeah.
You're right. So history-wise, obviously they've bounced around.
There
a lot,
is an
too.
argument, yeah.
There's definitely an argument. Yeah,
But they were a disaster. To Ev's point, they have been a disaster recently.
What's
crazy is in 2020, in that shortened season, they were closer to a World Series than you think. They led the fucking Astros in every game. Now, it would have taken a lot of breaks, but they had Matt Olson and they had another bomber that I'm forgetting that got traded.
They had that dude who hit like 45 bombs a year, and he had the same batting average 3 years. Chris Davis, the other Chris Davis. The
No,
other,
he wasn't on that team. It's another guy. It's third baseman or whatever. I'll look it up. But yeah, they were actually they've had teams that are good, but overall their franchise is just a fucking disaster.
Listen, here's the long and short of it. I'm on MLB.com. They don't belong to a city. It is Toronto Blue Jays, Texas Rangers. It's just athletics. Like they don't have.
They're just a disaster.
they've kind of become by the sounds of it, like the Coyotes of baseball a little bit. And it's sad because they could have done it in Oakland, and it could have worked. It should have worked. And that fan base, I feel awful for them. I really, truly do.
I mean, they were like real life major league, and then they're also like a trade deadline like this. Like they don't even like they're getting to a point they don't even like trade their good players when they should.
yeah, true.
Like they're just like holding on guys for no reason, and like Dave said, like just paying Luis Severino like
I was going to say
$7 million,
Pineda, but yeah, Severino.
their biggest contract ever. It's like what I mean. This is like it just doesn't even make sense. Like good for him getting this money. I like Severino, but just a weird.
What was the point of that? Yeah.
Yeah, just their whole it's just the whole thing is just it's a joke.
Is there? I know there's a luxury tax. Is there any sort of salary floor with baseball? Okay.
Salary
Matt
floor
Chapman.
is 26 guys making league minimum.
Yeah,
which is
Matt
what-
Chapman was the guy.
Oh
too.
yeah, Chapman's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there should be. That's the problem with baseball. Like, there's no cap, but there should be a floor. You should have to maintain a certain amount.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hockey.
The NBA
hockey
Well,
has
if
a
you had a
floor.
floor, you'd have to have a cap too. And if you had a floor, that would only incentivize the owners to spend to that floor.
right?
Yeah,
but like,
against
but
it.
maybe you could have like a punitive tax on the other end.
On the opposite side, sure. I don't know how to fucking make baseball great again.
Baseball stinks.
It stinks.
But like that era that we were just talking about,
It was the best.
that era was so awesome.
because it was still the steroid era too.
It was.
But it entered the Moneyball era, and those players were fucking awesome.
Yeah, and like the stars were bigger. At least in my brain, maybe it's a nostalgia factor, but I do feel like that from the home run chase in '98 through the Red Sox winning it in 04, like that whole run to me was like the golden era of baseball.
I think baseball's in a very weird predicament where the people who love it now will age up, like, you know, guys our age, KFC. You saw all the passion with fans like that. The guys who do love their teams and love baseball, I don't know if they're getting younger fans. You know what I mean? Like that, it might, like, and I guess you could teach your kids that, but like, I just worry they're getting new fans and then that those people care about it. You know what I mean? It just dies, but it is.
Yeah,
what
but
it is.
I mean, on the other end, like you think that the NBA is so young and their ratings are plummeting.
Yeah. No, I think sports in general is in a weird spot, but
They don't have the kids don't have the attention span for a full game.
All right.
No. There's too much entertainment out there now. White Sox, Dave.
The White Sox.
Yeah.
Absolute worst fucking organization on earth. I think that they're every bit as bad as the Jets, the Browns, the Coyotes. Maybe not the Coyotes. I would say they're worse than the A's. If I gunned ahead, even though I have bias and I fucking hate this team right now, this organization, I should say, I would say gunned ahead, White Sox are a worse organization than the A's right now at this very moment. Just set the record for, or not set the record technically because it's the modern era, but 41 and 121 last year. The worst record in the modern era since 1962 Mets. But if you look at this list, it's 1916 Philadelphia Athletics, 1935 Boston Braves, 1962, 1904, 2024 Chicago White Sox, then 1919, then the Tigers of 03. They were generationally bad this year. Now, I want to ask you guys a question of non-Chicago guys. What do you think of are they completely and totally irrelevant, or are they just like, what are they to you guys?
I didn't know they were as bad as they
They
were.
have been.
Don't you guys have like 30 years in between playoff series wins?
They have
something like that.
Rico. They have been an organization since 1895. They were the West
Chicago Black Sox,
something. Then they became an official major league organization in the year 1900. They have won 3 playoff series in their entire organization's existence, and all 3 were in 2005 when they won the World Series, which is that was the best month of my life. I just turned 16. I was finally driving on my own and all that. They lucked into that World Series. Every single thing went right. They signed Jermaine Dye off the streets. AJ Pierzynski was a bum. Like, everybody had career years, and I think that World Series, in a way, set the standard for the next 20 years up till this point, where it's like, oh, we'll just try to catch lightning in a bottle again instead of doing it the right way. That organization fucking sucks.
The White Sox
top to bottom.
The White Sox winning the World Series is the worst thing that ever happened.
It in a weird way might have made them worse because of that.
That is remarkable, though.
It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. But
3 playoff series.
125 years of their existence, they've won a playoff series in one of those years.
I gotta be honest.
That
just shocked me. I didn't like. Obviously, I knew they're horrible. I think they were like in my running. It was like them or the A's, and I was like, I'll let Dave take the White Sox.
I appreciate that,
because to me, it's more like the
wait. They've only won 3. Sorry,
3 playoff series in the organization's history.
No, because that can't.
That's shocking.
Hold on, they won the divisional, the championship series, and the World Series.
Yes.
So the rest of it, they've never won a playoff series.
Never
like
won
any season.
Now for a long time. I mean, the wild card.
There's only pennants.
Yeah, for a
that's a
long
good
time
point.
it was just the AL versus the NL.
Still.
No, but still, because that's
And
what
I'll even so back in '94, Rico, you're a little bit older. You might remember this. I don't remember the strike year in '94. What are you? 38?
37. Yeah.
30. I don't remember the strike year. Thank fucking Christ. The White Sox. It was the White Sox and Yankees had the two, and the Expos had the best records in baseball. Jerry Reinsdorf spearheaded that player strike. He's like, fuck these guys. Fuck the White Sox. Fuck winning the World Series this year. Let them walk out or go on strike. Fuck them. I hate Jerry Reinsdorf more than I hate anybody else on planet Earth. He is evil.
It's actually amazing he won those Bulls championships.
He lucked into Jordan.
And if you watch the fucking Last Dance, the last episode, I remember thinking, I'm like, Jerry Reinsdorf's actually coming off a lot better than I thought he would on this. And in the last episode, in the last like 5 minutes, he's like, I didn't re-sign Jordan because I didn't think it was worth it. What the fuck are you talking about? That's not just a generationally good basketball player. That's a generationally good marketing for your brand that puts you on a global map. And you're like, I don't think he's worth it.
The fact he ever wore anything but a Bulls uniform is crazy. But I'll say this: like I said, baseball's between the A's and the White Sox. I think for me as the non-Chicago guy, it was more they've won a title much more recently than the A's. The A's have had much more like playoff success and just like general success in that time. But I think obviously them just moving and how bad it was this year. But I had no idea they had only won a playoff series.
I knew about that because somebody mentioned
I thought they had because they've had they've had some okay teams in between, you know what I mean? Like I figured they'd maybe just I didn't think they'd only won 3 playoff series in the history of their existence. That's crazy.
All in the same year.
That's so bad.
Wow, that's shocking. I did not know that.
That's shocking.
I figured they won a divisional here, a division there.
Well, they did do that. Like, what was
here.
the Jerry Manuel year? They got swept by the Mariners, right?
No, they've won divisions, but not
playoff series.
Not divisional
playoff series. Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right,
Jesus.
Dave, you're up again.
I'll go with Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I think I got a nice little 1-2 right there. The Jacksonville Jaguars. When did they come into existence?
96,
1995
or
something.
6. Yeah.
I mean, they're just the most nothing Jacksonville. It just reminds me of white trash hillbillies.
Can I say something though? In my brain, they're still an expansion team.
Them and Carolina are. They're still expansion teams.
Carolina
Texans came after them.
I know.
No, the Texans are like a good, just normal team now. Jacksonville's they feel like it.
Yeah,
They've made the playoffs quite a bit in the last 15 years, 20 years.
Jacksonville, obviously their quarterback now is fine.
As I talk about
good.
like London all the time.
I know.
They are a shitty franchise.
I agree. I know they are. But like I don't hold them to the same standard that I hold the Browns, the Jets, and some
I
of
don't
the
either.
others.
Also, I have a weird thing with them. Coughlin was their first. They made the AFC Championship game their first or second year in existence.
Second.
So they had the early success.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, but it's been a while. Like these expansion teams, like would you consider the Heat still an expansion team?
No, because
They
they've won titles.
They came around that same time.
It's been a long time since they've been around. You know what I mean?
Even the Magic was like
It's longer than you.
I
say.
know what
Oh
Chief's saying, though.
Rico, you're right. You're right. But in my brain, I just look at them and their Mickey Mouse uniforms and like they're just like, ugh. Like,
My buddy,
Oh, both can be true.
Yeah.
I do still consider them an expansion team, but they have been around for a while.
I have
think
a
both
buddy
are
who
true.
had to move to Jacksonville for work for a handful of years and lived down there. And just because they were so cheap, he's like, "Fuck it, I'll get season tickets." And they were like $200 or something.
yeah, and they got they got the pool, like like
It's such a
yeah, and they're like another meme team that's like I feel like Big Cat's
What-
favorite meme of all time, where the kid stuck his head in the statue and had to have like the jaws of life get his head out.
There's that other meme where it's just like it's some random just average looking white guy. They just did something stupid. He's just like,
Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah.
it's just like
yeah.
incredulous. Like he's seen it all a million times, but it's still shocking to him.
Yeah, and then it's like
How?
they, to their credit though, they got absolutely fucking hosed out of that Super Bowl. That it was like Brady's last one, where they got the weird penalty.
With what's his face?
Yeah.
Bortles was the
yeah.
quarterback. They had like the nastiest defense, and then like the next year they blew it all up and sucked.
That was
Yeah.
that was the Jersey Jerry
Yep,
Suey.
that was the run.
Oh, is that right?
The Suey was they got beat by the Jags in the playoffs.
I never knew what
and
that
no
original.
dishes, nothing.
Yeah, dishes, nothing.
But like, even if you fast forward 20, 55, 30 years from now, I still don't think this team has any history of any kind. It's just like, kind of there.
when they go to London and they get supersonic jets figured out,
Okay.
they'll be fine.
That just adds to my point, though.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my god.
This is a fun draft.
This is a fun draft.
Just misery. And I think a lot of like fans will be like, thank you.
Like they feel seen.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, look at today. They fucking retained Belkey. Like what?
Crazy.
Like they still can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
They still can't get out of their own way.
But it's educational. Like those guys not knowing that the Sox have only won 3 playoff series ever is
In the same year.
for sure.
yeah.
Ev, you're up again.
So I think I'm gonna go basketball here. I think I've got to do this. I think I have to do it, even though they're good right
Thought
now.
this was gonna stick around. Oh, okay.
I think I've got to do it. I think I've got to do the Knicks. Obviously, they're good right now. They're good right this second. But I mean, I'm 30 years old. They haven't won a title since '73. They've been an absolute laughingstock my entire life until these last like 3-4 years. They've been an absolute nothing. I mean, worst team in the NBA for like 20 years straight. It felt like just from Isaiah Thomas, all from Dolan's a total clown
Dolan's the
to
worst.
just everything, just like to like they get close in the 90s and lose the 2 without Jordan, like never really get. They go in 99 in the lockout year, get smoked by the Spurs. So they've had like random spurts until between then and now, but just an absolute laughing stock of a franchise.
Always selling ourselves.
Yeah,
on,
just like
guys want to come here.
everyone in every player that's ever laced up shoes has been photoshopped a Knicks jersey on them. They never go. From LeBron to a million guys, or you get Amari, he blows his knee out in a year. You like the whole Melo thing. Like Melo wants to come. They could have got him for free if they waited 6 months. They traded their entire franchise for him, which then put themselves in a spot where they were like okay with him for a few years, but they just always make the wrong moves, always fucked everything up, never get the free agents, always make the bad trades. Since the Ewing pick, like they've just a total dumpster fire. And I'm sure there's probably other ones you could say are worse, but as a Knicks fan, I think I had to have them on the board. And it goes into kind of what I was saying at the top of the thing, where you can have some teams that have been bad that now they're good. Because I think right now, the last like 5 years, Leon Rose has done an unbelievable job building this team, has made like every right decision. But the Knicks the Knicks are like the poster child of like, oh, like the Knicks are a joke, horrible NBA, just horrible. It's been absolute dumpster fire until the last couple of years.
I wrote a blog. I'm trying to find it. The 5 best moments in the last like 10 years for the Knicks, or like one of them is Linsanity.
But that was before that was question.
Like Linsanity was a 2-week period. And I also wrote like, oh, a great other thing is too, like, is NBA free agency with the photoshops.
Yep.
And the side talk video. Like, this is what we're talking about for 15 years of like the best moments in Knicks history.
That's the Bing Bong guy?
Yeah, the Bing Bong guy. They did have the one playoff series win against the Celtics or whatever, but like it's been a fucking disaster.
I mean, I would say the best moment like on the court, truly, like in my life, I would say the DiVincenzo shot in the last year's playoffs.
Yeah.
Like that little comeback against the Sixers, that was by far the best thing we've seen on the court.
I wrote it before the
Like, not even
playoff
close.
series, but yeah.
But like a big shot in the first round of the playoffs, by far the biggest shot that the Knicks players hit in my life.
See,
Larry Johnson, I guess I was like 4 years old when Larry Johnson shot happened, the 4-point play. But
it's a fine pick. I'm struggling here because I have 4 NBA franchises circled that are worse off than the Knicks.
I have more than that.
Do you?
I got. I
But
can't have them on my list.
It's
but worse right now though. Right this second, I think worse.
No, I think
I don't know about worse even the last like 40 years.
You made a good case, certainly. I mean, but the Knicks, to a degree, are, because it's New York and MSG, like they're always relevant.
But that's the problem.
But I think that's
though.
part of the point. That's like
Yeah.
the Jets thing.
It's more unacceptable for this to happen.
Like
for
I
the
think
year.
we haven't won a championship since 1973.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Literally 50 years. Over 50 years. No championships.
And you only
like
got
there are some, I won't say the names. Like trust me, there's a few I had circled that I'm like they're probably worse because they're more irrelevant.
yeah.
But the Knicks being the Knicks and being as bad as they are is like it's insane.
No, that's fair.
Back to me. It gets tough, I think, because there's so many good ones where it's just who deserves to go ahead of the others. I'm gonna go in baseball. I'm gonna take the Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh,
I don't like this
I don't
pick
like
at all.
that pick.
I don't like this pick at all.
I think they have overachieved, but I think given
Is
how
that
much
the mark
they,
of a good franchise?
well, I think they've overachieved, but I think given their situation about their stadium, how they can't get fans of the games, how they talked about playing fucking in Montreal for their home games, I think you're a bad franchise. If you have an on the field product that has been as good as they've been, and you still have to have these constant conversations, I think that's all the markings of a shitty franchise. I think they're a bad franchise who has trotted out some decent teams.
I think that they do a lot with a little, and
But it shouldn't be that way. That makes them a bad franchise for not building off this.
I think if you took them in the 5th round, it would be fine. Taking them second, there's some dog shit teams.
There is, but
Way worse.
But I think
I would argue that the Rays are one of the best organizations in baseball.
they're a good baseball ops organization. Everything else is an awful franchise.
Yeah, stadium's a joke. That's a good point. I mean,
joke.
they've been worse than they have been better.
It's a joke.
Their worst
Yeah,
years.
they've been
are-
around since '99, right?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
it's a long time now. It's the same thing I talk about. Like,
call
they're
it
not
25
you know,
years. They've been good the large majority. Well, the first like 5.
We
7,
were
they
growing up,
bad.
they were awful.
When they were in high school. When I was in high
Terrible.
school and shit.
Awful. They were the worst team to be in.
Yeah,
It'll
no,
be
that's true.
slugfest.
But
Well, like,
Yeah.
what was the
Yeah.
year they lost the Phillies? 08?
07, would they go to the World Series in 07?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
the,
that's
the,
true.
the rain out year, right?
08?
08? I think it was 08.
It was
07 or 08,
08.
one
It
of
was
those they
08
did.
because the Sox lost to them that year.
But they
08.
they're just not serious. They're not a serious organization.
I disagree. I think they're an awesome organization that
That's crazy.
I
going
hear
through
your
a lot of
I see
growing
your
pains.
point,
Yeah.
but
you get them a stadium, and I mean there's so many like political and logistical hoops to run through to make a stadium happen.
Well,
if you get them a
figure
stadium,
out how to make it happen. You're a sports franchise.
They need
Sure.
to see that. Have you
Absolutely.
guys ever been to the Trop?
yeah, it's
I was there this year.
I went like a few years back. If they were able to put that, I don't know. I don't think they could do it. This is much easier said than done. If they could just get that stadium like in Tampa, I think they'd have something. It's just, I mean, it's off a fucking highway in St. Petersburg. It's
Yeah.
not even in like the right city.
You can be impressed with what the baseball ops department has done with less, but you can't tell me that they're a good franchise.
I'm telling you,
it's a
they're a
joke.
good franchise.
They have elite
They're
baseball
not.
people. Elite baseball people.
Exactly.
It feels like every
what is-
year they've got 3 bullpen arms that you're like, where'd these guys come from? And they're all
What-
great.
The purpose of an organization is to win. If you're like carrying water for ownership because they're not making money because no people are going to the games, then that's like a bad argument to make in terms of whether or not they're a good organization, I think. But
I bet
like if you say they've been around 25 years, they've been more than competitive.
I bet you if you broke it down by wins per dollar spent, they're probably at the top of the league.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
They're in the heat of a relocation argument. If that's the case, you're not a good franchise.
I disagree.
It's
The
just-
Bears
it's just
are
true.
well.
Just
that's
true.
Not a.
That's not a relocation. That's a stadium.
I think you probably could have taken this later.
That's fine. But for Dave to sit here and say they're a good organization is nuts.
I would have them as a top 5 organization in baseball.
But I think you
Absolutely
can't get
bar
past
none.
baseball ops versus everything
I
else.
absolutely can. If all of that bad shit that you're talking about doesn't lead to awful products on the field, what does it matter? Checkmate. Next pick.
No. I mean,
I don't
like
think that's
Ed
second at all.
has a point. It's just I just think it's too early when you have some horrendous franchises out there.
There are a lot of bad franchises
Yeah.
to choose from too.
Chief.
I think there's worse baseball ones than you just took.
Definitely.
I might get pushed back on this one. I'm taking the Angels. I think the Angels having Mike Trout and Shohei, like two of the greatest players, individual players ever, and never even getting out of the basement with those teams. Absolutely horrible. Like, they should be ashamed of how they've wasted those guys. And when was the last time it was a World Series in 02?
2002.
Oh, too.
And I think they made the playoffs a couple other times.
Trout's rookie year, I think.
Okay.
Was the only time he's ever made the playoffs.
So, like, that's pathetic. And, like, total enough. And Artie Moreno sold him, right? Didn't he just recently
No,
sell him?
he was floating the idea.
Okay. But I think that they're, like, that, when you have guys like that and you can't do anything with them, and the fan base is, they're suffering too, and you see the team, down the highway,
Yep.
just doing
Same
everything,
market.
same market, basically doing everything right and winning and winning and winning and winning, and you can't get out of your own way. And like that division, that AL West, is kind of there for the taking, and they should be dominant with when they had those two guys, and that A's are actively trying to lose. Mariners are like whatever. They should be a killer organization in the playoffs every year, and they suck. So I'm taking the Angels.
Another like bizarre team that snuck a championship in there.
Yeah,
as well.
02.
You know what I mean? That 02 championship.
Yeah.
'Cause were they good before that? Were they good after that? Like, not really.
No.
I know they made the playoffs in 04
05 they did, the Sox.
and 05, yeah. And then I think that they went off a cliff after that.
Pretty much.
Or like another one of those that's just a bizarre champion. You know
Like
what I mean?
the-
Like, they're
Yeah.
just a
This is
disaster.
why I was asking you guys about the White Sox. Like, how often do the White Sox, like teams like the White Sox and Angels, even cross your guys' minds? Like, you guys are baseball fans.
I think
Rarely.
I think it's just having the Cubs there. I think hurts the White Sox. Obviously, I think
did.
the
Angels
So
got
I think when
the-
you think when I think Chicago baseball, the Cubs are who I think of. Like the A's were I think they became a talking point because they were so disastrous and like the rats in the stadium, and they can barely get 500 people in there for a weekday game. I think the Angels was a good pick. Like I had the Angels. Like they would have been in the running for my next few picks for sure.
See, I think it's a good pick too, but statistics would argue that they're not even close to the worst franchise in the West. So that's why it's like how they're not.
Okay, well,
Statistics.
I was going to
just
say
saying.
that there are teams in Florida that are worse than the Rays.
I would completely agree.
There might be. There is an
Yeah.
argument for both. I'm not saying there's
Yeah.
not, but I'm saying
Yeah.
vice versa. Like if you look at history, like how much does one championship matter? I guess
It matters.
Yeah.
It matters, but like,
because the Angels, they've won the West in 04, 05, 07, 08, 09, 14.
that's more than I
That's more success than I thought.
That's more than I
a
thought.
little
too.
bit more than I thought, but I also think that nobody cares about them. That's
Which-
something.
but
that
Well,
they-
it's another,
that's
they're a little
irrelevant.
brother of the Dodgers, and
But they should.
Chief's point, I think, is fair. Like, because that's why I would have said them too. Is having Trout and Ohtani and doing literally nothing is
Last place every fucking year.
unthinkably bad. Especially Trout, like in his heyday, like to have Trout like in his prime make one playoff appearance, and it was his rookie year. It just feels like impossible. Like it's almost like how does that happen? And then you stumble across Ohtani, and then you still can't win. It's shockingly bad.
And didn't they get Ohtani for like
300. It was
like no money?
Yeah, it was. They had to pay the posting fee, which I believe was $20 million. I could be wrong if Lance wants to fact check, but I think it's 26. If you're an international free agent that's 26 or older, you don't have to pay a posting fee, and you can sign with any team. You're completely unrestricted in every way. But he was only like 22 or 23 or whatever. He could have waited a few years and signed for like
huge
$500 million or whatever. Probably at the time 300, but he's like, no, I want to play now. I want to start dominating now. Worked out for him in the end, but
Yeah.
Rico, you're up.
All right, I'm surprised I'm getting this in the second round. Real quick, sorry. To Ev's point about the Knicks, the way I titled it, it's pathetic the Knicks advancing to the second round is a top 5 moment in the last 20 years of the franchise, but I'll take it and ain't apologizing for shit. The 5 moments that I ranked were winning game 2 of the first round against the Hawks in 2021, hiring Tom Thibodeau, the Bing Bong video, beating the Celtics in 2013, and winning a series against the Cavs, which is this series. But yeah, I guess honorable mention is Linsanity and this and that. Like, it's pathetic. I'm actually surprised
Linsanity was sweet that 2-week run in.
I'm surprised I didn't put Linsanity.
Well,
Like,
also
winning
that Celtics series they won, they just got smoked by the Miami.
Yeah, and Amari punched this thing.
And it was a game where they were up 3-0, and then they came in wearing all black. It was a funeral, and then they lost 2 games. So like a horrible Celtics team, and then won the series, and then got smoked by Miami.
I think the rest of my picks after this one are going to be more about winning and not just much of like a joke franchise. But when you talk joke franchise and little brother, nobody is worse than the LA Clippers.
Yeah.
Like Donald Sterling as well, like just an absolute fucking disaster of a franchise. Not much really I can like speak on more than they are just a disaster. No finals appearances. They've been around since 1970. I don't remember them making the conference finals. I always remember them having #1 picks. Shout out Michael Olowokandi. Like just a fucking disaster of a franchise.
And they've really they were propped up by a Lob City run that like never really
never really went. Right. I mean, you share a building. They share a building with the Lakers, right?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
They don't anymore.
They don't anymore.
The Clippers just opened their own arena.
Okay, they shared a building with the Lakers. That's laughable. You know what I mean? Like, you have the Lakers in your building. Like, what do you think people are going to go to? So that's the one I'm going to go to. And then I'm interested to see what you guys think of this one. Because
Clippers were my highest basketball one.
Okay. I had them up there as well.
Yeah. I'm going to take a team that's got a 46.2% win percentage of all time, has only won 4 conference championships, all in the 50s, never won a Super Bowl, never been to a Super Bowl, and ranks 26th in wins in the NFL. I'm taking the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
Yeah, this is
great fan base. Like, know some friends in Michigan, great people. The suburbs of Michigan are actually really nice, very, very nice. I've been to the stadium at Detroit. Ford Field was pretty cool. But like, Detroit is, when I think of Detroit, I just think of Tim Taylor making jokes on Tool Time. You know, that they were bad and then losing on Thanksgiving. Like, this is just a bad franchise. They're 26th all time. Like,
they had the 0-16 year. They also had two of the greatest players ever at their positions with Barry Sanders and Megatron, and they're both just like,
nah,
I'm out.
Yeah.
Way ahead of when they should have.
Right.
Yeah. Like Barry Sanders, like,
I can't do this anymore.
I think the Lions, for me, are like the poster child of the bag over your head team.
Yep.
Like when I think bag over your head sports team, I think Detroit Lions.
I think they probably, if you would have taken them 1-1 right now, I probably would have been like, yeah, that's a good pick. Even with all their success this year, obviously they're a fucking wagon. That team is so good.
That's why this is a tough draft to have, because we could have it now, and we could have it again in a year or two, and it could be completely
different.
Because Detroit slid in this draft because of recency, and then the Angels were higher because of recency.
Yeah,
yeah, but guys, let's talk about recency. They made 1 conference championship. They might make 2 in a row. That's the same as the Jets. Though, you know what I mean? It's not guaranteed to staying power.
They can fuck up very easily and have another 30, 40 year
Detroit
run.
Lions, but like staying power.
So they've won, I believe that playoff game they just won when they beat the Stafford and the Rams was the first playoff game they had won since the 90s?
Since they beat
or
Dallas.
Like 2000? It was Barry Sanders. It was whatever Barry Sanders won a playoff game.
They beat Dallas in 1991.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's crazy drought.
Yeah. And I will say it could fall apart. But on vibes, like, they're a fun, cool, awesome team now that, like, I'm hyper jealous of. That's why they slid to me. Like, they're obviously, like, I had them right below the Browns for worst NFL, but like they're sweet right now. Jahmyr Gibbs and like
They're awesome.
And this year where like everybody's hurt and they're just killing people.
Well, they built the team for the long haul. I think this will be more. It'll be weird if someone watches this like 5 years from now, or like Detroit's in the team. Like I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl or nothing, but I mean they're just built to be good for a while.
Yeah,
they have so many good young players.
Mm-hmm. Chief, you're up.
I will take the Pelicans / Hornets. So in terms of just absolute irrelevance,
I think those are two different franchises, though.
I think you got to say Hornets.
Yeah,
if you're saying Hornets, then you're saying like Hornets in theory.
Yeah, you're taking the Hornets. Then.
Taking the team from New Orleans.
No,
that's the Pelicans.
No, that's the Pelicans.
Wait a second.
Yeah,
if you're taking Pelicans Hornets, I think you're taking Hornets. I mean, you're taking Charlotte, right? Or
Charlotte.
No?
Timeout.
Yeah,
timeout.
You're taking the Hornets.
Timeout. I'm taking the Charlotte Hornets. Moved to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Became the New Orleans Hornets. Then they changed their name.
Yeah.
That's one franchise. The same way Utah,
But then
the Coyotes, and the Jets are all the same. Because then what you're talking about is Hornets and Bobcats.
Yeah.
So I'm talking.
You want Pelicans?
I'm talking
okay.
Pelicans and Hornets.
I think you want. Okay.
Oh.
I think you want the other one, but I'll.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm doing you a favor here. You should take the Charlotte
I guess that's why I got. I guess
All right,
that's
I'm
why
taking
I
the
got
Hornets.
thrown
I'm taking the
off by
Hornets.
Pelicans.
I'm taking the Hornets. I'm taking the Hornets.
Okay.
'Cause they don't
That's
even
where
have.
it gets convoluted.
I already had Pelicans written down.
I just gave the
Can I-
assist.
That's where it gets very convoluted because there was a couple of years where there was no Charlotte team, and then they became the Bobcats. Or am I misconstruing that?
No, you're right. You're right. And that's what I was
Yes.
thinking because I made a mistake in my brain because I was like, I want the one that was not the Alonzo, Muggsy Bogues, Larry Johnson, cool starter jacket one. I want the other one. I want the Emeka Okafor, Adam Morrison.
Well,
That's
Mayo.
Charlotte. Like that's
That's
Charlotte.
Charlotte. That's
Charlotte.
That's what I want. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
Formerly the Bobcats. Yes, you want.
Yes.
Yeah, Becco. You
Yes.
want Charlotte.
Yes.
yeah, the Hornets are one of the worst franchises in basketball easily.
Yes.
They are an irrelevant
100%.
nobody.
Hornets.
Yes, that's a good pick.
Yes.
We're just helping
yes.
you out.
Sorry. I got
Yeah, the
twisted in my
Hornets-
own brain.
This
And
is
their
where it gets
logo
very
is fucking
it's very
awful.
confusing.
Well, how so, Rico?
Because he's right. That franchise then became the Pelicans. So like, and then I'm confused. I don't think they had a team for a little while. I don't think Charlotte had a team for a little
No,
while. Then they
you're
became
right.
the Bobcats.
So you got.
So they got-
But then Charlotte comes back. So who is the Bobcats also the Hornets?
Yes.
Yes.
That's where it's very
Yes.
confusing.
Bobcats
Yes.
are the Hornets.
but it's not the Pellies.
But not the Pelicans.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
So which one do you
I'm
want? You
taking
want-
he wants
Bobcats.
Charlotte.
He's
I
taking
want
the Charlotte
Charlotte. So
Hornets.
I'm taking the Charlotte franchise because you're right. They moved to New Orleans and stayed the Hornets for a little bit with like Chris Paul. Then they became I got all confused. So I made it more confusing. So I was thinking the Emeka Okafor, Adam Morrison, Bobcats, who then changed their name, I think when Jordan bought them, back to the Hornets, and they've always been horrible. That's
All
the,
right, so you're taking the new era
correct.
Hornets.
Correct.
Formerly
Interesting.
Bobcats.
I also think the old era Hornets were just as bad. No conference finals appearances, no NBA finals appearances.
But they're better. Like the Pelicans have been like okay.
Yeah.
They had like Chris Paul, David West.
Right,
were,
okay.
like a decent duo.
yeah, the era of the merch, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they did have Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, B.J. Armstrong, Muggsy Bogues. Like when I was a kid, they were cool.
Yeah.
Longest. They've never made a conference finals.
Okay, good.
One of the 4 North American sports teams that have never done it. So
Okay.
they have the longest record.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really bad. I was just doing research for this draft. It really opened my eyes about how bad the Hornets are.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bobcats during the lockout season went 7-41. Worst record in NBA history.
Like percentage wise?
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
All right. Yeah. Good pick.
Thank you.
That's a really good pick. All right. Back to me. God, do I do it?
Do it.
But I don't know. Misery, like the comparisons of misery is what's making this hard.
That's what this draft is all
I
about.
know. With all that considered, nobody cares about them. And I think that's all the more reason. It's the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, they're on my list.
On my board.
They are one of the oldest franchises in the NFL, same year as the Bears. And they have won their division 7 times.
31st in wins to all-time wins. 31st in wins.
And it's one of those things where it's like,
Oh, I'm sorry. Winning percentage. 31st in winning percentage.
yeah, of all the NFL, and they're one of the oldest franchises.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like this pick doesn't really hit because no
It
one really
does.
cares about them.
It does hit.
Okay.
I think it hits.
I
It's
think
definitely-
irrelevancy definitely hit.
Yeah, it was on my board. I wonder how much the narrative around them changes if San Antonio Holmes doesn't toe tap that in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
But even that team, they went 9-7, and they just got hot at the right time. But they were not like a good team.
With Kurt Warner?
Yeah.
They were fun as hell, though.
yeah.
but they weren't
That,
good.
that was Kurt Warner when double gloves slinging it.
yeah.
Yep.
Larry Fitz and Anquan Bolden.
Yeah, Bolden.
Yeah. But they that was not a good team. Like they probably I don't know, maybe they won the division that year in a bad division, but they were not good.
I also think you lose some points. You lose some
They had
points
some-
when you move around. They were Phoenix
They had
Cardinals.
some-
They were the Arizona Cardinals.
They were St. Louis, and then they were Chicago.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say they had some decent years with Carson Palmer, too, after that.
They're the
The,
original.
the
Soldier Field
irrelevant
team.
factor is
Or one of them.
valid.
They're
Yeah.
like so irrelevant.
Wrigley Field, rather.
Like so irrelevant. Like even down to like their helmets are like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. They need like a full.
But every time they
Rehab.
try, because they try like to change their uniforms every so often. Every time they change them, they get worse. They should go back to the Cuba Gooding Jr.
From
Of,
Yeah.
Jerry Maguire.
They
Jerry
should
Maguire.
implement. Yeah, they should implement the state flag a little more in there.
Yeah, they have a good state
They got
flag.
a good. They got a good state flag. They should try to use
Yeah.
that more because they do a little bit of that. It just looks weird with the red. It doesn't really like flow very well.
There's also a point to be made when it's the same as the Angels. Like I know they won that 0-2 championship, but the Cardinals, this holds true. When you think of Arizona Cardinals, you think of the movie.
True.
You think like a little bit. You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No, I'm laughing at you. You're right.
Yeah, like a little bit of like when I think Arizona Cardinals, you're like, all right, Larry Fitz, and then you go Carson Palmer. You think a couple. You always think players first, but then you're like the big picture of the Cardinals or top 10 moments is like, oh yeah, they were in Jerry Maguire. And they made it. They were cool with Jerry Maguire. You know what I mean? Like same with the Angels. Like Angels in the outfield. Like if you're used in a sports, I feel like movies use garbage franchises because they know they have easier access, and the franchises realize this will be good pub for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like let's read that script.
You know what? Actually, to that point a little bit on the Angels pick, they got bullied into using Los Angeles in their name. So like if
I think he wanted to.
I think
was
Artie
like-
Moreno wanted
he
it.
wanted
like,
to,
I
I thought he got
No,
bullied into it.
No, he wanted it. He
it.
wanted. He thought it'd be better. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Yeah.
That's not. California was the better one.
I agree.
I thought he got bullied into it for some reason.
So yeah, Arizona Cardinals is mine. Ev, you're up.
This is one for basketball. I think I could have got taken. I think kind of in similar veins of the Hornets. I've had a little more, I guess, history, if you will. Give me the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about truly like irrelevant, Washington Wizards to a T. They have not won a championship since 1978. The most prominent player in their history is probably your guys' sloppy seconds that Jordan just played there at the end of his career. Like, I mean, they've done literally nothing. Even through this having like John Wall and some Beal, like that did zero.
Had to change their name for gun violence.
Yeah, they've changed their name. They have the Gilbert Arenas incident, who I'm a big Gilbert Arenas fan. But again, like that's like the biggest thing that's like the biggest story that the Wizards have had in 40 years is that one of their star players brought a gun to the locker room.
Gilbert Arenas, nice guy, by the way.
I love
Massively
Gilbert
nice
Arenas.
guy. We met him at the Final Four. He was the man. He just
I had played in his shoes when I played AAU in like 8th grade. Love Gilbert Arenas. But when you're franchise, that's like the biggest story that ever hit on ESPN out of your franchise. That's a bad spot. They are true, like when I think irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think the Washington, like when was the last time any of you watched the Washington Wizards play a basketball game, even on like ESPN or TNT? Ever. They're never on that. Ever. They're a joke.
Ev, this is such a good pick that I forgot about him.
Thank you. Probably the highest honor in this draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were who I was going to draft when I was drafting the Knicks, but the Knicks are just more in your face bad because of the Knicks. So and I'm just a Knicks fan, obviously. So
Washington's a good pick.
Have them on my board, but watching, I almost went with them. Like they were in. I thought about going them 1-1 if I had it. Like they're that bad. They're just a total. Like there's not even much to say about them because you know so little.
Yeah.
They're so irrelevant. You know nothing.
Yeah.
Anton Jameson.
I said four NBA teams.
That Durant's from the area, so they thought maybe he would consider going there.
They should just go back to the Bullets. That was a
They should.
That was a sweeter name. The
The
Wizards
Wizards got their hands on it.
They got a stupid,
I think you walk around will see more like West unsold like Bullets jerseys than you will like anyone on their team the last like 15 years.
I think you're right.
Maybe a John Wall you're going to see here and there. Like you had a star, basically you paid him all, he just fizzled out. Don't even know where he went.
Yeah,
he just kind of
fell
like
off
faded
the
off
face
into
of
the
the
abyss
earth,
with like
yeah.
$200 million.
Didn't he play in China and Donnie did a video over there and went to one of his
No,
games?
that wasn't him.
Nah, that's well he did with Jimmer Fredette.
Yeah, it was. There was a Steph Marbury. It was
Marbury played in China. Marbury became
Yeah.
like a Chinese like legend.
Yeah. He's like.
I'm pretty sure it's
Superstar.
Steph Marbury.
I'm almost
Yeah,
positive.
John Wall. He the one. It was him. Like he was like doing an interview, like playing like cards
Yeah.
Yeah.
or something. Like he just like so checked out. He was making $40 million for like 3 years straight, and it was like who's seen John Wall?
Yeah.
Just collecting like these massive paychecks.
Yeah,
They're just total dumpster fire. They just got John Wall. They had the number 1 pick. They drafted John Wall, and then they had a top 5, and they picked Beal.
February 6, 2013, Gilbert Arenas endorses Donnie Does in China. So
There we go.
Yeah.
White Sox, Dave.
I'm gonna go with one that I think a lot of you guys might have just forgotten to put on the list. I'm thinking because they haven't been brought up yet. But I'm going with the Colorado Rockies. They're just the most irrelevant fucking team on earth. It's where players go to die. Obviously, a newer organization in the grand scheme of things. And they do, to their credit, have a sweet park. Not that I've been there, but
It's awesome.
it
I've
looks
been there.
awesome.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
One of my
But
favorites.
just a nothing franchise.
Which is too bad because it is a sweet park. It is right downtown Denver.
It's a sweet city.
The outside of the stadium's like all red brick. Like it's cool. It's a cool city. Like, but you're right. Like they had the one miracle run in 07.
It was 08.
I think it was 07.
Oh, no, you're right. 07.
I think
yeah.
it was 07
When they had like the 20 wins in a row
to like end the season.
Yeah, to
yeah.
get
And then
into
they
the
just
playoffs.
kept winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, have you thought the name Chris Bryant? I'll ask you two. Have you guys thought about the name Chris Bryant since 2018?
Not, I mean, very, very scarcely.
Like that's where
him
players
just like signing that contract
go
and
to
being
die.
like, scratching my head, being like, why the fuck are they trade Nolan Arenado and then just sign Chris
right.
Bryant?
It didn't make sense.
Like, that didn't make
What
any
was the
sense.
point of that? What was the point of that? Like their homegrown guy too, you know? It's mostly the irrelevancy that I'm making this pick for.
They never won the division.
Never won the division?
No.
They've never won the division. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that was a wild card they snuck into.
They have 5 wild card berths, so
Okay. That's more than I would have given them.
yeah.
They were cool when
Only
they
4
first
less
came
than the
in.
right.
Yeah.
With, like Larry Walker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dante
Dante
Bichette.
Bichette,
Yeah.
the Big Cat, Andres Galarraga,
Yeah,
the
Big
original
Cat
Big
too.
Cat.
Yeah. But yeah, they suck. They can never get pitching.
Vinny Castilla, did they have him
Oh,
too?
yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Charles Johnson, I
Fuck
believe.
yeah.
Team was loaded. That was an all-timer in Griffey Slugfest, playing with the Rockies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All-timer.
I typically don't like purple in uniforms, but I think they have like cool uniforms too. Like they should
do.
be
The
like
sleeves were, or the sleeveless were
yeah,
sweet.
like they should be cooler and
I like
better.
their hat.
Yeah, me too.
The old school hat, yeah.
You're up again, Dave.
What do I want to go with? Do I want to go with basketball or hockey here? You know what? I'm gonna go with football here. I'm gonna go with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that's who I was between. But
I'm gonna go with the Chicago. I mean, it's the worst stadium maybe in North American sports now that Oakland's done. The Trop's done too. What's worse than Soldier Field?
Nothing.
I mean, I don't.
MetLife's pretty bad.
Of the ones I've been
no,
to.
it's
But
new.
yeah, what?
But it's
So
new.
MetLife's new.
Dude, if you want to take a piss
Soldier
at
Field is new-ish. They redid it in
20 years ago.
2002. Yeah.
Commanders is supposed to be really bad,
Is it?
but they're getting a new one soon.
Remember
the shit fall
if
down,
you
they
have
almost,
to
like,
take
hurt
a
players
piss
and fans.
at Soldier Field, you're missing a quarter of whatever game you're watching on that field. That's how I live, I would say 4 to 5 miles from Soldier Field. As soon as the clock strikes 0, for me to get home and on my couch, it's an hour and a half. If I were just get on a divvy bike, I'm sure you guys have your form of it in New York. Like it would take me much, much quicker to get home than to call an Uber and you can't. You have to walk legit like a mile north of the stadium to get an Uber. It could be fucking 5 degrees out. It's hell on earth. They've won 1 Super Bowl, been to 2. The futility of the organization is just brutal. Smallest stadium in sports. It's
Yeah.
in spite of having the great history that they do, and I'm talking about like in terms of like being the founding NFL franchise, blue blood, all that stuff, like
most Hall of Famers ever.
Most Hall of Famers, a ton of fucking from Butkus to Singletary to Urlacher, like so many names and hardly any.
They're the only franchise to never have a 4,000-yard passer.
They should be better. I think I said this a couple of years ago. I was like, yeah, the Bears are like a respected franchise. I feel like the Bears are better than I think. And then you guys kind of like crush me. They're like, yeah, the Bears are terrible. Overall, you know what I mean? Like it feels like I don't know if they should be better. Like they had that run in '85. And then in 06
I wasn't alive. None of us were alive. Even he wasn't alive for it.
Here's always my fun fact. So since 90, I was born in 1990, they have one more playoff appearance than the Jets.
Yeah.
And I don't fucking count their last one. It was against that Nickelodeon game that was introduced.
For the COVID year.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it is. No, I feel like the Bear, maybe because I know the history and like just the uniforms
right,
and being an original franchise. Like, Bears aren't that bad. And it's like you look into the numbers, Bears are bad.
Bears are horrible.
The 85, they have the 85 Bears. They had one of the most like that team has kind of stood the test of time as like when you
because there's no other thing to hang our hats on.
Right.
No, it's fair. It's fair. It just one of those things. Even just as like a football fan, like the 85, like even like your old like kid from New York, like me, like your old man talking about like those 85 Bears,
right?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
It's even worse when you don't win, and that's what we do with the Knicks. You love the '94 Knicks. They made it to Game 7 of the finals. Yeah. It's like
I'm far from a basketball guy, but I think that the Bears and Knicks are probably really similar organizations.
I think the Bears and Jets, like they each have one Super Bowl. It was a million years ago. Like they can never have a quarterback. They're fucking losers.
Wait, hold on. The Bears only won one Super Bowl?
Yeah,
just 85.
They never won any like in the golden age. Like
no,
they probably won in the 60s, right? Like
50s. They won a bunch. Like
we were a bunch of.
It wasn't the Super Bowl though.
Yeah, I know.
Super Bowl the Giants did. The Giants did too. Giants won a few in like the 50s.
Yeah, because there was like 8 teams.
Right.
Yeah. True.
All right. I didn't think they won. It would be way worse if they only won the 85. When they were winning Fugazi titles, or at least they won some Fugazi titles.
They had the old.
That doesn't make it any better. Yeah. Jesus.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bears are bad.
Bears are bad.
Yeah.
But when, like you said, when you have the GOAT of something, the GOAT defense, you're propped up a little higher in some respects.
And Walter Payton, who's regarded as the greatest running back and sometimes greatest football player ever.
And I think you guys carried some of that defensive persona with you, like, because me growing up, like, if you told me just think about like some of the first defensive players you think when I'm a kid, like Urlacher's always gonna come to mind like, early. Just like Urlacher, like bald head, barbed wire tattoo on his arm, like that classic, the long face mask, like that middle backer, like tough son of a gun face mask, like Lance Briggs. I still like, even me, I still have some of that feel of the Bears. Like they still have that feeling.
Never changed their uniform.
That is from like that's from like the 2000s.
Yeah,
like it is, but it's
changed their uniforms a little bit, but like a classic uniform.
Yeah, they have sweet players with no success. Like Devin Hester was fucking awesome.
Awesome.
But nothing really to show for it. The kickoff, the peak of being a Bears fan in our lifetime was the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl, which they lost.
Yeah.
I was going psychotic.
Eddie was picking up a pizza. Didn't even see it.
I defend. Well, I guess because it's a little bit harder when it's your only thing. But being a little late to the game, I defend. You know what I mean? You time management. You take the nap a little bit longer. They take forever at the pizza place. I wanted to defend you there, Eddie, but it was their only Super Bowl appearance.
I was 16. And
you got to be there at the game.
Exactly. It was tough. Ev.
I haven't won NFL yet, and I think this is another one that. I think because of having one good team a long time ago, they get overlooked as how bad they've been, even though we have a crazy nutjob fan in our office yelling about them constantly. It's the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins have not won a playoff game since 2000. They went perfect in 1972. They've done literally nothing since then. Very 85 Bears-esque. We're like, in 72, they're the only team that went undefeated. Every time like that last undefeated team loses, pop a bottle of bubbly like every season. The Dolphins are a joke.
Yeah.
They've won their last playoff win 2000. That's all.
I didn't realize that's bad.
Oh, our guy.
They won the Super Bowl back-to-back years. Like when they won that 70, they won 72-73. Have never won a Super Bowl since.
Had a guy who's considered a top 5 quarterback of all time.
Yeah, they had Dan Marino for 15, 20 years never won with what many, like I didn't get to watch him really, but many consider like, some people call it the Stinky's the greatest quarterback ever. He just was on such an inept franchise.
I'll give you one.
That he should be like, that he should be considered like one of the GOATs. And there was such a bad franchise. They did nothing with it.
I remember being a little kid at a Knicks game on a Sunday of conference championship, or I'm pretty sure it was conference championship Sunday. And my dad like going by the fucking food court to watch the end of it. The Dolphins missed a kick to get, I'm pretty sure to get to the Super Bowl. It could have been division, but anyway, the Super Bowl was in Miami that year. They would have had, and they were really good. They could have had a fucking home game in the Super Bowl. Blew that, like, yeah, nothing with Marino.
And they were at their best his early years.
Yeah.
Like the best teams they had were like his first like 3-4 seasons in the league.
They
were his
made
best
the
teams.
Super Bowl his second year.
Yeah, his second year. His second year was when he set like all the records that like Brady ended up breaking.
Yeah.
So I mean, like they had a guy like that in their place for that long. They never did anything with him. Always had horrible defenses. They just had good offense. They had Dan Marino, so they always lit it up. But their defense were atrocious.
They always made the playoff. I mean, it's tough because Don Shula was their coach. He is the all-time winningest coach still, right? Still?
He
might be just on like pure wins.
Yeah,
on
like,
wins.
but
Yeah,
like,
Belichick didn't
what are we
pass.
talking about?
Yeah. Belichick hasn't passed him yet.
You're right. So I think so. It like you're not wrong. Like we have our guy Nicky Smokes, who's a diehard Dolphins fan too. They haven't won a playoff game in his lifetime.
That's what I'm saying. Like we have a grown ass man who's never seen. Well, that's
Right.
loose with Nicky Smokes, but you get what I'm saying. Like he just
Of
like
age.
we have guys in their mid 20s who literally never watched a playoff win.
Right.
That's insane.
I didn't realize they were that bad. You
And I
told me.
think the last
Because Frank the Tank is really like he was who got me when I'm making this list of like doing. I'm like the Dolphins got to be in there. He says like they
Yeah.
and I'm looking at my own. I'm like no Super Bowl since '73, no playoff win since 2000. I'm like, oh my god, like this is truly a bottom tier franchise. Also, the stadium horrific, like really bad. Hard Rock. They say
Is Hard Rock
awful.
bad?
They say bad. I mean, they say
Really?
like even just.
Just
I
'cause
know
the
it's like they
sideline?
say it's like a strategy thing. Like one side of the stadium, they make it hot as fuck.
Yeah, I heard
for like
that.
the opposing, which it was kind of like that as like a fan, like make the opposing team come in and sweat it out.
But it doesn't
I've
work.
I've heard a lot of bad shit about Hard Rock.
It's on an Indian burial ground, I think, so they think it's cursed. So maybe they're just a cursed franchise.
Brutal.
Tough.
All right, back to me. This is another one, kind of in the Arizona Cardinals vein. I just think they get overlooked. It's the Seattle Mariners. They started in 1977, and they have never made the World Series.
yeah.
They have
23rd in win percentage.
They've made
They
the-
had cool players. Couldn't get anything done with them.
Yeah,
They had-
Junior, the coolest player of all time.
They made the playoffs 5 times.
That's crazy. It's like
How many times the last few years too?
Let's see.
they had that run.
They had the record that one year.
2022.
16.
Yeah.
But they had, like in the 90s, they had Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey Jr., Alex Rodriguez. Then they had Ichiro. Like, that's like almost kind of like they got Bears vibes a little bit, where they have sweet
King Felix.
King
Yeah.
Felix. Yeah, they had
awesome.
sweet players.
And that's a team.
suck.
That's the team I was talking about in the West, where it's like it's a recency thing with like Ohtani
Yeah.
and Trout, because the Mariners are objectively a worse franchise.
I still like when they're in the hunt. I'm always like, come on, Mariners, because I loved
root
them
for
when
them too.
when I was
Yeah.
a kid. I loved them.
Remember they opened Safeco, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's
It's sweet.
Like, yeah. But that's a really bad
As
franchise.
far as
Yeah.
winning and losing, not very good.
Gets overlooked.
They
Yeah, it
need they
does.
need Bezos to step in and buy them too.
Yeah.
They no, I'm holding out hope that he'll step in and buy the White Sox. That'll never in a million years happen. But yeah, they're pretty
Stinky.
relevant. Yeah.
Stinky, yeah.
Chief, you're up.
I'm going with the hockey one. I'm taking the Buffalo Sabres. So Sabres, they have been rebuilding for 20 years.
Sorry
And-
guys, hold on. Ed's got a tinkle.
Yeah, they've been rebuilding for 20 years. They have great fans. So when my dad, we used to have season tickets, and you would go to the Sabres games and you would hear like, let's go Buffalo. Like their fans like travel. They really care. They haven't made the playoffs in, I want to say like 15 years now, where, I mean, half the league makes the playoffs. And before that, it was they've had a lot of expansion recently. Before that, it was more than half the league made the playoffs. They can't do it. And they would have like They would get the number 2 pick in a year where it was McDavid. They get Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel has all sorts of problems with management. He forces his way out. He goes to Vegas, immediately wins the Stanley Cup. So then our rebuild with Jack Eichel didn't work. They start the rebuild again. They're about to blow up like their 4th rebuild in a row. Like they just cannot get it right. They've never won a Stanley Cup. They've been to 1 finals in my lifetime. It was 1999. And they lost
two cups total. Two cup appearances total. Been around since 1970.
Yeah, and I think they lost to the Flyers in one maybe, and then they in the 70s like the Broad Street Bullies. I think that's right. And then they lost to the Dallas Stars where Brett Hull had his foot in the crease, so they didn't call it. And but they lost that in 6. But they have just really they've sucked for at least 15 years, which is. It's hard to be that bad for that long. And the same guy who bought the Bills and turned the Bills around, Terry Pagula, he bought the Sabres. I think he bought the Sabres first. And I think his wife was running it, and they just can't get out of first gear ever. So they absolutely suck. They have to be on this list. And it pains me because I like the people of Buffalo because they are a market that like really, they don't have a lot going. That's the only thing they really care about is the Bills and the Sabres. And forever, like the Bills could be on this list too, but they've been pretty good in this Josh Allen era. But the Sabres are just so fucking bad that they had to be mentioned.
I filled in for Brandon Walker when he had the Brandon Walker show one time, and it was like in the summer, so there wasn't a lot of topics other than baseball. And I ranked the most irrelevant franchises in sports. Not worst, just irrelevant. Yeah. I think the Buffalo Sabres are like completely irrelevant. I don't know anybody who roots for them.
Yeah.
Me not being a hockey guy, like every time you see the score go by, you go, oh yeah, they have a team in Buffalo. You have to be reminded they have a team. Like just irrelevant. Totally irrelevant.
Which is sad because that is like a pretty good hockey market. There's a ton of NHL guys who come out of that area because it's so close to Canada. So they have a lot of like really good players that come from there, and they have really good fans. But their fans are just fed up, and their arena stinks. And I like if they ever like got sort of relevant, like I'm talking like they make a wild card, that place would fucking explode, and then everybody would know like what that fan base is all about. But the franchise is so fucking bad that I mean it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Sabres.
Yeah.
Good pick. They're on my
How
board.
was your tinkle, Ed?
Good. I don't know why I had to pee so bad. Rico, you're up again.
I think I'm going to go back to baseball. I'm going to take a team who's 28th in win percentage. I don't think they've had anybody like stand out other than one player off the top of my head. 2 World Series appearances, no World Series wins. Been around since 69. I'm going to take the Padres. Tony Gwynn, like you synonymous with the Padres, and then you got Trevor Hoffman, maybe, but like you're getting in the weeds there with the Padres. You know, and then of recency, I'll actually do the flip side where it hasn't been hurt. Like they made the NLCS a couple of years ago, but they've been a paper tiger. They got Tatis and they got all these guys. They've been a big time talk the talk, can't get it done. I think the Padres are just a bad franchise.
It's not a very good one. I think they're probably more in the 5 to 10 range or 6 to 10 range and probably not worthy of being drafted, but
I feel like they've been trying a little bit.
They absolutely try. Preller is a gunslinger, so he goes for it, which I respect. It hasn't worked, and especially in that division with LA up the road, but they got a sweet stadium. They've had the sweet players. Some kind of sort of recent success. At least they're trying to be successful, which not a lot of teams do. I guess it's fine for a 4th round. But yeah, they're pretty irrelevant at the same time. If it weren't for the last 3 years clouding my judgment, I'd say, yeah, that's a home run pick probably.
And then I'm going to round it out with the T-Wolves. Minnesota T-Wolves.
Fuck, that's who I want in my list.
Yeah, I mean, since 89, dude, no finals, 1 conference final. This is now my brother. My brother was born in 89, or Eddie was born in 90. You're talking about an entire lifetime of they got it right early, you know, or they got okay early with Garnett and Marbury.
That's Sprewell.
Sprewell, but like cool uniforms, but just another like I feel like when the NBA schedules come out or guys lose track of where we're going on the road, it's like, hey, who are we playing Thursday? It's like, oh, we're playing at Minnesota. Guys just go, oh, fuck. Like there's nothing to Minnesota. You know
we
what I
were
mean?
just in Minneapolis a few weeks ago, and it's literally the most nothing city I've ever been to.
I like Minneapolis.
I like Minneapolis.
I also think I used to read Bill Simmons growing up, and he had a thing.
No one likes Minneapolis.
David Kahn was their GM, and he would just abuse them all the time. He'd be like, Kahn. They fucking had the famous draft picks where they fucked up. They did it right in front of Curry.
Yeah,
right.
it was Ricky.
Am I crazy for thinking
Ricky
that?
Drafted Rubio and Johnny
Johnny Flynn.
in front of Curry.
2 point guards in front of him.
Bad. Like we could go through their lottery picks of just like bad lottery picks. I'm gonna take the Minnesota dead last in win percentage.
402
in the NBA,
lifetime.
Worse
Yeah, I
than the
saw that.
Clippers. Like just awful.
They do have Ant-Man now though, and he's fucking sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah, that was my
Great pick in the 5th round.
Yeah, that should have been higher. Chief.
I think of this as like the National League White Sox to a degree with how they run their franchise. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh, stole mine. Great pick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't have it on my board because I forgot about them. That's again another one of like they're so bad you forgot about them. That's a good pick.
Yeah, and then, like when the Cubs were going on their little run, like the Pirates were like kind of good. Schwarber had like the big home run in the it was a wild card game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, in 15.
The 163, right?
Yeah,
It was,
was it
was it
163? I thought it was just a play-in wild.
Oh
card
no,
game.
it was the one game. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what they used to do.
Yeah.
And it's too bad because I think that they probably have good fans too. The stadium is sick, and
Beautiful.
I like the city of Pittsburgh, but they don't even care. They're like the Oakland A's, where they're probably like a very close to being Oakland A's.
I would
because
say
they had really great teams in the 70s. I think they won a couple World Series. Then they had like the Barry Bonds era, but they've been basically shit.
Market size is insanely important for baseball, and I'm pretty sure Pittsburgh might be the smallest market in all of baseball now. I think that's how it's close to it. But
here's a question I have: why doesn't every league copy
yeah,
the,
it's like 300,000 people.
the NFL model? Because
Well, the players have to agree to that, and they'll never do that.
yeah, I guess, but
That's why. That's your answer.
yeah. But it's like that makes the whole like the
I
NFL.
agree.
The NFL is the king,
Yes.
and they have the most parity. Where you never even think about like, oh, it's Green Bay, it's Cincinnati, it's this, it's that. It's just like they're
Teams,
just a
pretty
good,
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just a good team. Where it's just like, oh well, the Pirates can never be good because they're a small market, or the Rays can never be. Like you would never say that about a team in the NFL.
I agree. For the most part, I agree. Obviously, I think the Jaguars kind of
But if the Jaguars were run properly, they would be good.
sure. Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Where it's like you could make an argument for certain other franchises and other sports versus like the odds of that, like everything has to go perfectly right for them to be good.
Yeah, if they didn't have this awesome stadium, and probably they do have a good history, they might be out the door next. You know,
Yeah.
because that's such a 300,000 people in Pittsburgh. That's such a small market. I think Milwaukee has 900,000.
Yeah.
You know, just to put it into perspective of how small Pittsburgh is, and yeah, they're just a rudderless ship for the long foreseeable future.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Sucks too
I
because
can't
Andrew
name, I
McCutcheon's
can't
one of
name
my
their 5 best players off the top of my head.
right now.
I can't name.
No, like in overall.
Oh, I could probably do that. Bonds, Willie Stargell.
Oh yeah, but Bonds didn't make it.
He's not. I wouldn't think of him as a.
But you're saying you're the best
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Pirates ever. Like he's one of
Yeah.
them.
No, you're right, but that hurts more when his best years were somewhere else
Right.
as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think he won an MVP. In
He did.
Yeah,
he was.
but,
He was awesome for Pittsburgh.
Jason Kendall.
Jason Kendall. Yeah.
He's
But he
like-
was unbelievable with the Giants. So
Andrew McCutcheon.
Yeah, Kutch is the gold standard for him. I think.
Yeah.
One of the fucking. He was. Awesome.
He was awesome.
I loved watching him play.
Yeah, same.
Love watching. Well, he's still
old as
hanging
fuck,
around.
you know.
but yeah.
All right, my pick. I want NBA, so I want some representation from the NBA. And this team, they had one of my favorite teams ever outside of a Bulls team, but since then they've been absolute dog shit. It's the Sacramento Kings.
That team was fun. C-Web and
best.
Asia,
Vlade, Doug
White
Christie,
chocolate.
Bibby.
Bibby,
Bobby Jackson,
Jackson.
Ito
White chocolate's on
Turkoglu.
there
I could
too,
go on
isn't
and on. Scott Powell. There's so many teams.
Yeah.
No,
they had
traded.
a little bit later, but they had Jason Williams who just lit the world on fire with the Kings.
Yeah, well, they traded Jason Williams for Bibby. So then,
Yeah,
Bibby,
well, no, I know, but Jason, like a king, I'm just cool players. I'm
yeah,
saying.
for sure.
Yeah, but the white chocolate always pops up on like when I'm scrolling TikTok, like his mixtapes always pop up. I'm like, this guy was so fucking sweet.
Yeah.
He was so sweet. Yeah.
Now he's got a second life. He's been telling stories at Florida.
Yeah.
Where Billy Donovan was like, if you miss class, you have to run at 6 a.m. And he just went into Donovan and was like, hey, coach, what do you say we just meet every day at 6 a.m.? Like, he was like, I ain't going to class. Like, it was just, he's got a second life with that.
Yeah.
Also, it was him. He has been a big podcast guy. Like he goes on, like he tells that story and then he also talks about like I think actually one of his kids plays at Florida now. I think maybe his daughter plays softball there. Old. But he's talking about that too, about like smoking weed. That they used to smoke weed. He just was like, yeah, I wasn't stopping smoking weed. It just wasn't happening. Like I think he ended up getting in trouble for it later on.
Yeah. It is so crazy that he and Randy Moss were high school teammates in football and basketball.
I forgot that. Yeah, I always forget that.
That's awesome.
He was the quarterback. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think
there's high school. He could sling it. I've seen his high school highlights.
I think he just threw it as high and far as he could.
Yeah,
but he was an athlete too,
imagine high school and you're like, fuck it, Randy's down there somewhere.
But I think that vision translates as well. I mean, he had unbelievable vision in the NBA.
Totally. But I've seen podcast clips of him talking about that, where I think there was a year where Moss was Mr. Basketball for West Virginia and he was Mr. Football for West Virginia.
Yes, that's true.
And he's just like this guy. He's like, you don't understand, Randy Moss. He never left the field. That he was the wide receiver. He was a starting free safety. He kicked the extra points. He did the kickoffs. He's like, if Randy Moss decided he wanted to be a punter, he would be in the Hall of Fame as a punter. Like that's what Jason Williams says about Randy Moss. He's just like the freakiest athlete of all time.
He swears he would have had like a decade plus long NBA career if he just went all basketball.
Yep.
How tall is he? 6'4", 6'5"? Yeah,
6'4".
He could have been a 2.
And can jump out the fucking gym.
Of course, yeah.
The Sacramento Kings, I believe, after like 2005, they had 16 or 17 losing seasons straight.
Yeah.
And then they made the playoffs a couple years ago, and now they're back in the gutter again. Just fired.
What happened to them? Why did they go
Their
back?
owner right now, I think, is actually doing like good things.
I like the light the beam. The light the beam is cool.
Yeah. Yes, apparently the arena experience is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. They've done a really good job, and they've put together a solid team, at least a respectable team.
Yeah,
because I feel like they were in that Knicks gutter for a minute there in those 2000s.
Totally,
it was like just the Knicks and the Kings, like they were just 20 and 60 every year.
Yeah, yeah. Post that fun where there was like the Shaq would call them the Sacramento Queens. Like post that rivalry era where they never quite broke through, they were abysmal,
really bad.
But even that little thing that we remember, like if we look back, it was 4 years where they were like in that rivalry. You know, it's an early period of time. It's such a short period of time.
Yeah, and before that, I feel like shout out Mitch Richmond, if you remember in the '90s, he was sweet too.
Yeah, he was. Ev,
so Chiefs stole mine. That was the Pirates were a good one. I think because they're another one. They've had like random. We're getting thin here. There's a few I'm deciding between. Fuck it, I'll go with them because I'll take the Mets. The Mets. It's one where they have a good owner right this second. But let's not remember how much of a disaster they've been for like 50 years. Just total joke. Like
back playoff appearances, one time in franchise history.
60 years.
There's a fake one in 2015 and 2016, but they played the wild card game where they lost, but you lost that, so to me, you didn't make the playoffs. They've been back-to-back playoff appearances one time in franchise history. They've been around since 62. They just got their losing streak broken of worst seasons ever. Yeah. That's a lot of meme shit. Vince Coleman lighting firecrackers, like super soakers. The 93 team was the worst team money can buy.
Luis Castillo.
Yeah, the golden age of these pitching arms just being absolute we didn't get any of them. You know, like we got DeGrom for a little bit. We were wrong on Wheeler.
I was gonna say the one that ended up being the best was the one you got rid of first.
Yeah.
86 though.
80. I wanted to take Pirates. Pirates would have been. They were the team one I really wanted. I pivoted to Mets.
The Mets the Mets are funnier though. Like the Bobby Bonilla thing.
Yes. They're funny bad. Because the Mets, they're the Jets. The Mets are also the Jets. Like until Cohen took over the team, it was like the as long as I mean, their team got caught in a Ponzi scheme. Like literally their own team. Like they got caught up in a fucking Ponzi scheme, the New York Mets. Like it's Madoff smoked them. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like this team is a legitimate laughing stock until literally right this second.
My favorite
they're laughing stock.
Where
I think the finger,
just everything, all encompassing.
Where I think it was at its absolute peak, like the LOL Mets, was when I don't remember if he got traded or he heard he got traded in the middle of the game.
Flores?
Wilmer Flores crying in the middle of the field.
Great.
Because
He didn't- he
it's
didn't
like, why
end up
are you
getting
on the
traded,
field
right?
still?
He didn't end up getting.
He did not.
Right.
He stayed
Yeah,
on the
right.
team.
But
He
that
did it.
set off.
They had a guy at
2015.
shortstop crying at shortstop.
That led us to the World Series. Cespedes went old. I'm pretty sure. It was
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
And then they got contacted to death.
Yeah, and then they got dinked and doinked to death by the Kansas City Royals.
4 games. Or was it 4 or 5?
It was 4. It was a sweep,
Yeah.
right?
No, it was
No, they won
5.
one, right? They won one. I
It
think.
went to 5.
Yeah.
We won 1.
I thought it was
and we were the only team to lead in the 8th inning after every game.
I was going to say, yeah, they should have.
Should have.
That was the Matt Harvey. They kept him.
Should have
in.
won easy.
Yeah. Well, and it was the next year where they got Gillespie, Connor Gillespie.
Yep.
Yeah.
White Sox was cast off.
Yeah. That I used to love it. You guys have left the White Sox in the dust, but when Dave and Kevin used to call them the Sons of Uribe, like
That's
the little brother bond in the big cities.
exactly. That's how bad the Mets have been until Cohen. That like they were the NL White Sox. Maybe not that bad, but it was pretty good comparison.
Kind of. It is.
But I think,
Similar
but at
fan
least the White
bases.
Sox. But that's where the White Sox. The difference is like they've won in recent memory.
Yeah, that's 20 years ago.
But
do you remember
the Mets,
that?
The Mets,
You're
it's 40.
30.
The Mets, it's 40.
That's 40 years. Yeah. 86.
You're 30.
That's a big
you said?
difference.
Also, like as
I'm
an
30. I've never like the Mets. They won in 86.
86.
I was born in
I was born in 87. I didn't see it. So before the other thing too that's like hanging in the balance, and I don't want to get like too deep in the weeds with the Mets, but like if Cohen doesn't do it, that's even worse also. Like we're also potentially facing that disaster. We had a guy with literally endless pockets. If we don't win, that's even worse.
Imagine like it would be really.
We eventually have to win.
It would be an absolute shame if Juan Soto just stopped caring.
Yeah.
Just got all his money and just said, I'm just gonna get fat and all my boys gonna hang out in my suite at Citi Field.
Exactly.
Are they going to sign what's his face? Alonso?
I don't know. I would like to. I think you could put him in that lineup, and he's like the 4th option, at least 3rd option, and he hides him. You know, it hides him a little bit. Like
That's
makes
a pretty
good.
nice little lefty.
He was also the
righty
guy
punch.
who's seen this whole run. You know what I mean? He's a lifetime Met. Like
Yeah.
we don't have guys like that. So
All right, Dave, Mr. Irrelevant.
I'm gonna just throw a hockey out there and to get the consensus. Let's go with the Calgary Flames. How are they?
I don't like the pick.
Well, this website that I'm looking at right now does.
Yeah, I think. I mean, they won a cup in '89. They went to a cup in 04. They've had some solid teams. They're
okay.
To me, like if you had taken, I have other hockey teams on my list. I think the Winnipeg Jets historically are worse, and the most irrelevant team in maybe all of sports is the Columbus Blue Jackets.
So
They were on my list too.
Yeah.
I had Columbus. I am picking. Who did I even pick? Did I pick Calgary?
Yeah.
Okay, I picked Calgary solely because I don't think. I'm sure if you rattled off a bunch of players that played for him, I'd know a handful. But
Jerome McGinley.
yeah, I've heard of Jerome Iginla. I'm just like Ottawa to me, or Calgary rather, is such a zero city. Like I forget it exists.
Calgary's sweet.
It very well might be. It very well might be. But like you guys, Eddie, non-hockey guys, do you like how often does Calgary Flames come?
When I was 18, I went to Cancun and there were a bunch of Flame fans in the pool and they were screaming "Flames and 6, show your tits to girls." So that's what
Nice.
I'll never forget that. So
I don't know. It's just like out of every professional sport, like if I don't think I'd remember to list them off unless I saw their name and be like, oh yeah, I forgot to. Like they're absolutely fucking nothing to me.
Yeah, I think they got cool jerseys. The Saddle Dome is, while I think is known as a dump, it's got a cool name, and like when they're in the playoffs, like that place is fucking rocking.
Yeah,
Like
the Saddle Dome is
Saddle
kinda
Dome,
sick.
that's a great name.
Are you a hockey guy? Ev?
Nah, not really at all. I was gonna ask, aren't the Flyers kind of a dump with the Comcast thing? Aren't they kind of a joke? Or is that more like the cable company thing?
I think that's more the cable company thing, and they've been bad. They've been bad for a while now, but I really so they just hired Keith Jones as team president. I think that they're gonna get it going here. I really do. Which for whatever reason I've always had a
Really?
Yeah, I've had some disdain for the Flyers, and I don't really know why, but I do think that they're gonna be. Not right away, but I think in the next 3 years they'll be a pretty good team.
I did. The only reason I said that I did last year, I did like a video series with a college football one that producer Booze would go with me everywhere.
Yeah,
and we get a lot of Flyers talking to him on the road. So that's about the extent I knew about the Flyers and their shit. I don't know hockey that well.
No, yeah, I mean they lost to the Blackhawks in the final in 2010, and then they had a couple good years after that, but they've been bad for a decade at least. And
Chris Pronger in 2000.
Chris Pronger was on that team for sure. And but in my opinion, and I could be wrong, 'cause I get things wrong all the fucking time. I think they're on the ascension. Okay. So I think
good for the Flyers.
Good for the Flyers. It's going to take a little bit, but they have some pieces that are coming that I think are.
The weirdest thing to me is that the Canada franchises just haven't been great.
They haven't won a cup since
overall
1993.
Yeah, I wrote down Winnipeg and Ottawa also has been one Stanley Cup appearance since '92.
Ottawa made it in, what year was that? 06 was their only time they made it.
Like these aren't the Edmonton Oilers synonymous with losing too?
Well, they just won. They lost the cup last year.
Yeah,
I know but there was a thing they can't get it done.
Well, they got Wayne Gretzky. They won 5 cups in that era.
Then I'm an idiot.
Well, the Leafs always lose in the playoffs, right? And
that's what it was.
Yeah,
Toronto. Okay.
The Leafs are my favorite team to watch meltdown every year.
Yes,
but they always the last 7 years or so they've been very good.
2017 Senators
conference final.
Was it? I thought they beat the.
They lost to the Penguins in Game 7 double overtime.
All right, I fucked that up then.
Yeah, but yeah, the Leafs. They always fill up, they call it Maple Leaf Square, and they have everybody, the stadium's packed, and they have thousands of people watching the games outside, and then they always lose in, the most heartbreaking way, and you get to see all their faces just absolutely collapse.
Well, aren't they the Kings that this little run where, Austin Matthews, where they're always, one of the top few seeds, and they just lose, the first round?
Yeah, so and they always get bullied by somebody. It's always bullied by Boston, bullied by Florida. They always, they have a ton of talent. And then the goaltending lets them down, but they really just kind of get punched in the mouth, and they don't have a way to fight back. And that, and I mean that figuratively. The Panthers are just the biggest, meanest team, and before that it was the Bruins, and they would always run into the Leafs, and they would just push the Leafs around. It always makes me laugh.
Honorable mentions. Anything else, Rico?
I wrote down the Brewers, won World Series in '69, but they have a great franchise, fan base and stuff like that. But in terms of losing, a team that's been around forever and you don't realize it. I had the Jets, Senators, and Sabres got picked. Titans had that one Super Bowl appearance. Haven't been great. You still think of them as a franchise, as a expansion team, but they haven't been great. It's weird because they're really high in wins, but I think the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl as well.
Yep.
So that's just a more tortured fan base. The Hawks have been awful forever, I feel like.
Yeah.
And even though they won recently, I think the Raptors are other than Vince Carter, that one championship, the Raptors have not been a
tough franchise.
Terrific franchise.
Grizzlies and Nets too. I think the Nets are.
I was gonna pick the Nets.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just throw a dart at a hockey team. The Nets are also I forget they exist.
And
they
they
went for Durant for a couple of years. Obviously, it was New Jersey, but they're so irrelevant.
And then they made the finals with Jason Kidd back-to-back years.
Is that okay?
Yeah. But that was to me the worst era ever of the NBA.
Played in a dump.
Yeah.
Continental Airlines Arena, I'm pretty sure. Dump.
Is that the one on Long Island?
Prudential was bad.
Oh, maybe it wasn't Continental Airlines.
They played Prudential in Newark was bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking that up, but
or Izod. They play in the Izod Center too.
That was most recently.
Izod.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Ev?
Yeah, the one honestly I wanted to throw out there because it's funny because they obviously have such a incredible overall history, but 30 we're going on 30 years of the Cowboys, fellas.
I know. I had them on there.
They're a team that I don't think they could be drafted, but as a Giants fan who despised them, I had to mention them. They have not done any. I mean, they've obviously they have playoff teams, but 30 years.
Yeah.
Pretty much it'll be 30 years pretty much after the season. They only last one in 96. They're almost 30 years.
Unacceptable.
Well, they haven't really even come close either.
2 more football teams. I think you're out of the room. The Buffalo Bills have to be mentioned too. They're in this great run with Josh Allen. Maybe they win a Super Bowl. It has kind of changed the narrative. Losing 4 Super Bowls in a row, and then immediately after that going 25 years or whatever without making the playoffs is...
I don't remember the Jim Kelly years, so to me the Bills are completely horrible until these last 2-3 years.
And then the Cincinnati Bengals too.
Yeah, them too, yeah.
Okay.
And that's another one. The Bills are in a dangerous type of thing. If Allen doesn't win one, you waste
gotta
his
vote.
prime. You
You
know what I
gotta
mean?
vote.
Like, what?
No, I'm talking to him. We'll wrap it up 2 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going, Rico. Sorry.
If the Bills don't win, that's another one where you were so close and so close. Like, it's not, doesn't make you the, I look at it also, like, doesn't make you the worst franchise, but it makes you tortured, which adds to the worst
I agree with that.
picture. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just.
Anything else, Dave?
Royals, Twins, Marlins, Jags, Bears, Blackhawks, Ottawa Senators. I don't know.
Yeah, I said the Chargers.
And then the Memphis
I hate that they
Grizzlies.
moved. I hate that the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah,
What about the Memphis Grizzlies? That's another. I just forget that there's.
Yep.
Didn't I just say them?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna read it off. Then we'll vote. Chiefs got to get out of here.
Oh, I forget about this vote.
Rico, New York Jets, Los Angeles Clippers, Detroit Lions, San Diego Padres, Minnesota Timberwolves, Chief, Cleveland Browns, Los Angeles Angels, Charlotte Hornets, Buffalo Sabres, Pittsburgh Pirates, Eddie, Arizona Coyotes, Tampa Bay Rays, Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Mariners, Sacramento Kings, Ev, Oakland A's, New York Knicks, Washington Wizards, Miami Dolphins, New York Mets, White Sox Dave, Chicago White Sox, Jacksonville Jaguars, Colorado Rockies, Chicago Bears, Calgary Flames. All right, Chief, you want to do yours? So you can
WSD.
Okay.
Because of the Flames.
Okay.
I had the same thing. Flames.
You got the. What,
You don't even
you
know
got, Dave?
anything about the Flames.
All right, so that's
You're gonna hold on a second. As a baseball fan, you're gonna take that over Ed and his Rays pick.
Dave for a guy
That is
who for a guy
crazy. Hold on, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Rico.
Well, let me talk to you about
Rico.
the Rays. I want to talk about
Chief
the
made a
Rays.
good
Hold on.
point. Chief sold me. Chief sold me on that.
No, wait, what did he sell you on? You don't even remember what he said.
He said it wasn't a good pick, so Chief sold me.
He said it was like the Rays have been a model franchise.
For Dave, for a guy who incessantly
No, the Rays were bad early, bro.
He
Really bad.
incessantly bitches about teams not spending money. For you to carry water
If
for the Tampa Bay Rays right
if
now
the White
is
Sox
disgusting.
spent $10 a year and had the Rays success, I
Disgusting.
wouldn't say a fucking thing about the White
Disgusting.
Sox payroll.
No, don't say that. Disgusting.
What did I say to you in the
You're
draft?
carrying
You
water
banana
for the
head.
Rays.
What did I say to you in
doing.
the draft?
They
If it
broke up
leads
2 World
I don't
Series
care if
cores.
they play in a fucking cornfield
No.
in a parking lot. If it leads to wins on the field, who gives a shit?
Nope. This is not the Dave I know. Ev, who you got?
I was going to go you, Eddie, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm
who you
also
got?
going Ed.
Ev, I went to you, unfortunately. So,
Chief.
A tie in theory.
so it's a tie. 2 for me, 2 for Ev.
Dave.
Go to Lance.
2 for me, 2 for Dave, right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So it goes to you, Lance.
Can you read them to me one more time?
All right. Arizona Coyotes, Tampa Bay Rays, Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Mariners, Sacramento Kings.
And Seattle's like
Is me. Is what? You're gonna defend Seattle Mariners now? This guy's unbelievable. What a water carrier. White Sox Dave, Chicago White Sox, Jacksonville Jaguars, Colorado Rockies, Chicago Bears, Calgary Flames.
I think I'm gonna have to vote for you, Eddie, because I'm as a Bears fan, I have to.
Yeah, personal
I have
thought.
to stand on that and say
That's
we need
fair.
to get better as a franchise.
That's fine. That's fine. I understand. The water carrier, White Sox Dave, and everybody else is out on this podcast. I appreciate you guys.
I can't believe you, Rico.
All right. He sold me on the Flames. What do you want me to say?
Wait, no, Dave
And,
had 2.
dude, I
Sorry,
looked
no,
up the
Dave had
fucking-
2. Yeah, sorry. Never mind. Keep going. I fucked that up. I'm an idiot.
I looked up the Rays, dude. They've finished like second or first. I don't know, a handful of times. More so they're 5th, 4th, 3rd. The Rays, I'll defend the Rays as being a bad franchise.
They
I
are.
can defend that.
They are.
Like I feel like you just put my brain in a pretzel. You were making points, so they're always first and second, and then you said
No,
they're a bad franchise.
Very rarely first and second. I meant
Oh,
I
okay.
spoke.
The
I
Rockies,
speak too fast.
The Rockies have 4 more playoff appearances than them.
The Rockies have randomly had some, like, they made a World
Oh,
Series.
they have 4. They have 4 more than
Against
the
the
Rockies.
Rays.
Sorry, I said that wrong. Regardless, all right. White Sox Dave, the water carrier. We're out. See you guys tomorrow.